You're welcome. Okay. All right. So again, we're going off of few questions. This is just to wake us up all, right? And then we will start with our classes. As you can see on your screen, last time we left with automation, we probably wrote a few steps. Today, we're going to complete a few test cases, and we may change the website from JetBlue to our regular testing website. Again, testing in production. We shouldn't just choose any website because we don't want to put ourselves on hold just because a website is significantly harder to automate. Now we may say, how come JetBlue is able to do the automation? To answer that question is that JetBlue may not be testing their landing page, because landing page is something is really most of the company outsource to smaller companies where they are responsible for landing pages. So we'll try to go with our insurance demo website, because that's where we will get the most value, and that is more realistic to a real website, real web application that you'll be dealing at work. So, all right, I would ask you guys a few more questions before starting, and this is just to it's a good practice, because again, the answer that you guys did, just 2 answers so far, these are interview questions. These are actual interview questions, and you may face it at some point. Let's see. All right, so what is a positive testing? What is a negative testing? You guys covered that or not yet?
I think positive testing, when we test it, that time we get bug. This is a positive testing. If we did not get any bug, this is a negative testing.
Not really, because
I think positive testing determines like if the application works, perhaps, I don't know, like it's worked as expected.
So positive and negative, right? When you try to test all the happy path, right? Meaning user goes, signs up, he doesn't make any mistakes and goes and being able to sign up, and at the end he's able to order, let's say Amazon, right? Being able to order a product without having any sort of difficulty. That is a positive testing. The other positive testing is everything that the user will do is positive testing. Now, negative testing is everything that the user may do it unintentionally, or maybe, you know, they want to do it for with different negative data. For example, let's say in Amazon, you selected a product and being able to go to the cart and order it, right? That is a positive flow. Negative flow would be a user is not a he didn't even put a product into the cart and they want to check out and pay for it, right? It doesn't even have any orders, right? So that would be a negative. For example, a Amazon user entered maybe like 5 quantity of the same item. That is a positive testing. Another Amazon user tried to enter 0 quantity of the same product, right, to order. That would be a negative testing. So anytime you try to validate the behavior of the application based on invalid input is a negative testing. Okay. And anytime you're using valid information, valid data in order to test the outcome from the application or from the system, it's positive testing. So we'll cover this. I think Socrates is responsible for that. So his class was on hold due to my class. We're trying to get the hardest thing out of the way, which is the automation. And that's why things are coming a little bit delayed, but we're pretty much very close, right? With automation. Once we get the grasp of automation, then the rest of the stuff will be easier. Now, I will there will be numbers of tools that I will cover, right? And one of the tools that I cover, which is Jira. Jira is a tool that helps you manage your tasks, right? So daily assignments, how do you know what to work on and things like that? How do you know how many days do you have deadlines and all?
Excuse me. Your voice is kind of
Mhm.
staticky.
Is it?
I don't know if it was just me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it?
breaking up a
Okay.
bit.
Let me change because I'm using a headphone. Let me see if I can, or maybe I'm in a wrong internet. Okay, never mind. I'm fine. Let me see. Um, okay. It's still the same, right? Is it?
It's more clear than
It's
what it was. Yeah.
better.
Okay, let me change the headphone because I'm using the Apple headphone. Let's see.
All right, how about now?
Way better.
All right, so I'll continue to use this instead of the Apple headphone. I don't know what happened to that one. All right, so we talked about positive and negative testing, and we will talk about the toolings, right? There are multiple tools that we have to use. Today, we're going to cover GitHub as a tool, and let me pull up GitHub and first of all, explain to you about a little bit about GitHub because you can't just jump in without having to have some sort of idea. So some of you guys that already know GitHub from school or from wherever, what do you think GitHub as a tool, where do we use it? Why there is a need for using GitHub? And let me bring up the drawing to give you guys some visualization. All right, this is from the last time. I can just build top of this. Still similar topics, so all right, so let's go over GitHub first because GitHub is a tool and we use it for version control, right? And this is how it looks like when you go there. You'll have to sign up, create an account, and being able to then look at the thousands and thousands of free repository, right? Whatever you need, actually, you can build an application directly from taking somebody else's repository and then build top of that. So if you look me up, let me just, this is just one of my account. I do have company accounts. This is just the private account. So in GitHub, you can have repositories. What do you mean by repository, right? That's the first thing. Repositories, think like it's a basket, right? Or bucket where you put your like items. So each one of them are an item for me at least, right? For example, demo, Python, framework, you have acceptance tests, you have NY demo, BDD, popcorn app. So these are each individual app that does something, right? And I can put anything at all that I create through coding, I can put it in here for later use, for distribution, for anybody to see. GitHub, as a free user, you may get, you may create the repository, but you may not make it private. Your company will be able to make it private because they are a enterprise user, GitHub Enterprise. They're paying for those accounts. So they will, so obviously you're not gonna see companies repository, but you will be able to get access to that because you're working on it. So for example, this one, And this is something that we will do right now. We're going to push it to GitHub. We're going to make sure that our repository actually is in here, and all of you guys can pull and push and can contribute um, moving forward instead of you using your own framework. Okay. And this is going to be as close as possible to real work situation, because when you go to work, you will take the repository from here, um, and then you'll be writing your tests wherever it belongs to. That means you go into test and then going into resource and then just creating a new feature if you need to. But immediately you don't have to start pushing code. That's fine. But today I'll just tell you guys why GitHub is necessary and why version control is necessary, right? Um, so any idea, let's hear about some ideas from you guys. Why do you think GitHub is necessary, and what is GitHub in your own thoughts?
I think in my opinion, GitHub is like kind of like Reddit for software and like engineers, like people who code.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they help each other. They post each other's code, help out, edit, use, build upon,
Mm-hmm.
etc.
Yeah, that's right. Because if you, let's say, how many people follow crypto? Like,
Yeah.
let's say you wanna not Dogecoin, let's say crypto. Let me just write crypto and see how many crypto related. Oh, I'm not searching in the real. You can literally pull. You can pull a crypto related repository and start to contribute. And there is guidelines, community guidelines here um, in order to contribute to that project. So for example, Dogecoin, and you have a lot of experience, you can write code and whatever, right? You can actually find the repository here and being able to contribute and make it better, right? And potentially you'll be able to work with the team when they see your code and they see like, oh wow, this person is trying to um, give us like 20 pages worth of code, and that's going to do something significantly better than what's the current flow, whatever it is. And they will probably even get hold of you and like, hey, you want to spend more time with us and things like that. um but not only that, like there are a lot of GitHub repositories that are public from the company in order to welcome contributors to go in there and be able to contribute. So now, few things that we know about open source, right? Open source is like when you have repository public and anybody can contribute. Anybody can actually say, okay, I would like to improve this and that. Here's my code. You can present your code as a pull request, but you're not able to merge it or push it, or at least make it permanent until somebody reviews and they like your code. Okay. And that's one of the guidelines. So now let's say for some reason you'd like to contribute to Selenium WebDriver team. Here it is, right? So Selenium WebDriver team is basically, this is their official repository, I believe. So you go into the Selenium HQ, and now they will tell you how to contribute, and they'll tell you what kind of APIs, the API will be covering what kind of language in here. Selenium can cover these languages, right? And then they will tell you exactly how to pull the repository and be able to contribute and help. And then in exchange, they'll probably write your name somewhere here as a Selenium, somebody who contributed to Selenium itself, right? That's a huge thing. The other thing you can always showcase is that you see the contributor list right here, 610 people contributed. You can probably like go to work and say, hey, I'm also a contributor to Selenium. Even if you contributed once or twice, you can find me in the contributor list. I'm like 510 or something like that. And you would be able to recognize even for that, because this is huge, right? If you are able to contribute to Selenium. Look how many people are using Selenium itself. So that's important, right? When you push your code, even at work, you're able to see how many push you did, right? Like this guy is the huge contributor so far. He has committed 5,119, and there is a lot more people who's contributing daily basis, because not because they're getting paid, is because they do get to go on the top, right? Like this is like a race at this point, right? And that's what you will experience at work, because you'll see that people are committing their code, and you'll see that pretty much it will display based on how many commits you have.
Do companies within use GitHub just to like keep track of like as the teams are coding to see like the commits and how everything is moving?
Yes, some companies do. One of the company that I work for, they put a ratio like, okay, we want this percentage of code being committed, right? So then they go from the last sprint, the last 2 weeks, let's say this much commit went in, they want a little bit more than that, or they have expectation basically, and they can draw to a conclusion. For example, you join the company 6 months later, you have zero contribution to automation. Is it safe for me to assume that you are a manual tester and you don't really code, right? Or is it safe for me to say you are not doing what I hired you for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these assumptions, many managers, they have analytics, by the way. Instead of like looking at here, they will company have analytics that will pretty much do most of the work for them, draws conclusions saying, "Okay, this person is active, this person is not active, this person is that, and this person is that." So now, many company, the bosses, they will, if the bosses are smart enough, I mean, obviously they are, right? And they will just look into the I guess the list of contributors, and they'll say, oh, wait a minute, this person is spending this much time, that's crazy, that's great, this is awesome. And then they see another person like, oh, how is this person is able to spend so much time in writing automation compared to this guy, right? So then they will try to like talk to you and say, hey, let's see what I can help you with and whatever. But if you have zero contribution, you couldn't push your code or whatever, and you continue to work as a manual tester, they will notice, right? It's not because they want to fire you, it's just because that they want to see if you're serving the purpose. And even if you're doing manual testing and that serves the purpose, then they will just keep you as a manual tester. And slowly you will probably lose the ability to automate, because now you're drawn into a completely separate position, meaning they're going to be more dependent on you based on the subject matter expert, meaning you will probably know more about the product and application, and they will just rely on that more, and and not lay you code, right? You'll still work for the company. It's just that they will just use you as a BA and QA at the same time, because you have more knowledge on the application. um, that's why like many companies, you only join, you'll see like there are a few people, they will openly say, yeah, I don't know automation, I'm an old timer, whatever. And they will say that to you openly is because they don't know automation and they're comfortable doing manual testing, and they don't want to go into learning what you guys are going through. Nobody can put this much time and dedication, like 6 months, 7 months, or whatever. um Only few can, right? That's why it's not as easy for everybody to just come in and say, okay, I'm going to change my career. Why would I want to work as a cashier or taxi driver, whatever, right? It would be super easy for everybody to just change the career overnight if it was simple and easy. So that's why challenges that you guys are seeing right now, you guys should welcome it, because it's changing you as a person. Okay, with that said, let's talk about the usefulness of GitHub, because again, we're looking into GitHub. You can actually literally, you join a company and you don't want to write a lot of code in the beginning, you can get a template, just like um Word document, right? you don't want to write everything from scratch. So why not just get a template? So let's say you want to get a template of a BDD framework, right? Just write BDD. Oh, not here. I'm searching in the wrong place. So just write BDD cucumber or something, right? And now you have hundreds, if not thousands of templates. You have to choose the language that you want. So let's say Java is your more comfort level. You see cucumber starter, sovereignty cucumber starter. So this guy actually wrote this framework and left it open for anybody to say, come in and say, okay, take this and use it. He even gave you sample scenario. He even gave you how to, you know, how to automate. Okay, so all the steps, he wrote the document for you to understand what it is that you need to do. And basically similar to this person, there is a lot of the people out there, they write this framework and it's called a skeleton, right? Skeleton is basically they do all of the configuration work for you, meaning setting up the driver, whatever we did initially, right? Having everything like in the XML, those smaller things, and they
Like
create,
dependencies and everything?
yep, and
Uh-huh.
create a guideline also, like not only dependencies, but also like give you some idea on how to go about writing your test step definitions and where should you be writing, how should you be writing, all of that, right? You see, and he's talking about tagging also. See, so you can, if you join a company and you said, okay, you know what, I gotta start writing automation, and you think like, okay, now I have to go and start from scratch. You don't have to, just find a skeleton based on what they need. Okay, and then you just have to grab the code, right? Remove this person's um right? So once you grab the code, GitHub automatically associate the code with this person's repository. You'll have to remove it and then put it into your company repository, and I'll show you. And now everything that he did is going to be like you committed this much code, and then you can start from there. And it's nothing wrong with that. You're not stealing somebody's code. This is, they intended that for you. Okay, look, there's a heart. But anyway, so, and there is another one right here. BDD, Cucumber, Selenium, WebDriver, APM, rest assured. This thing has everything, meaning Selenium WebDriver for web automation, APM for iOS and Android native app testing, and rest assured for API testing. So this one contains pretty much everything. Um, so I'm not asking you to come in here and then take somebody's code and start to write some automation. This is just for you to know, right? You join a company, you may want to explore and see how another person writing the test automation, and kind of take some ideas from them, right? And that's what you can do. You can actually copy the entire repository to your computer if you need to. All right, with that said, GitHub, let's go into that. So I'll give you a problem. The problem is, if you ever notice that if you have an Excel sheet and let's say 5 or 6 people are working on the Excel sheet and I save it, now I'm overwriting your work. So let's say you haven't saved yet, right? And what happens is that you wrote maybe 3 or 4 rows, right? Rows. So in Excel, what do we have? Rows and columns, right? So you wrote 2 columns, or sorry, 2 rows, and I wrote maybe 6 or 7 rows, and now I saved it. Now your rows are done, right? You can't save anymore, right? Why? Because those 2 rows are already taken. I already saved my, you know, and similar to that, another person. So it becomes really crazy in order to manage whose code is right and whose code is wrong, right? Whose information is right and whose information is wrong when you adding and removing items, and actively 5, 6, or 7 people are working together. So this is let's say this is a QA, this is a QA, this is another QA, and this is another QA. Let's say there is 4 QAs working together, right? And let me see if I can. Okay, QA1, Okay. And then, and this is a person. Okay. So treat this circle as a person, right? QA2, QA3, and QA4. By the way, we'll get back to our automation class. It's just that let's try to understand something, and then because we're going to be pushing our code to the end of the class to GitHub, so it's better to understand why we even use it. So now QA1. So let's say everybody's working on a project, and this is their project. Okay. And this is the repository where the code is, right? Files and folders and all of that, right? This person makes changes, right? And this person makes changes to this, right? But then all four, or let's say they first pull, okay? Everybody's pulling first. Before they can make changes, they need to have it, right? On their, so they download at this point, right? It's like Excel sheet, everybody download it. Okay, so everybody first downloaded this Excel sheet. Oh. That's the first thing they did, right? Now, since the download took place and QA1 already, this person was smart enough to already say, okay, I'm going to make some improvements. And he already submitted his change to this repository, okay? To this, okay, let's call it repository, right? So I'm going to give it a label. It's probably better. So in this repo, this person already made the change. Now, QA2, QA3, and QA4, these persons, they no longer have the same version. So now if they want to save and push it back, it will say, oh, do you want to overwrite somebody's change, which is QA1? So this guy wants to push it back. And as soon as he wants to push it back, it will remove all the changes from this guy because the copy is no longer same. Now, same thing happens. QA3 is like, oh, I'm ready to push my code. And it does the same thing. And it overrides this guy and this guy. And then you got yourself QA4 and you're like, oh, no, I would like to also make some improvements. And now this guy pushes code and it overrides all three. And now his code is the only code left. Tell me if this is a problem to you. Do you think this is a problem? Sounds problem. Do you understand the clear problem here? Because we will give you a solution in a second. I want to make sure that everybody understands the problem here. And this is without even using GitHub right now. Because obviously Git is the solution, right? So tell me if you understood the problem here.
The guy at the end is gonna have his name on it that he saved the
Not
file.
only his name, but he's gonna overwrite all three, because the problem is the first time everybody pulled together. It's not like, okay, this guy pulled and pushed, and then this guy pulled and pushed, and then this guy pulled and pushed. You know what I'm trying to say is that if this guy pulled and pushed and it's happening in a series instead of a parallel kind of work now.
Oh, they have to go one at a time.
Exactly. So QA1 can only work if these three stops.
Yeah.
Right. And then similar to this and that, right? So now company cannot afford to have three people waiting around for this guy to finish so this guy can go in. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if they don't wait, they're gonna overwrite this guy's change, that guy's change, and followed by this guy, and the last guy always wins, right? Because that's how it was, right? He took a copy. Initially, everybody took a copy, which was same. Totally fine with that. Then slowly, these guys started updating. These guys still have the old copy, right? Now he's pushing it, old copy with only his change. Everything else is overwritten, right? That's a problem. It's a huge problem where people cannot work because, oh, you'll have to ask your coworker, hey, Jay, listen, did you push? No, you didn't yet? Okay, can you push and let me know so I can do mine? You know what I'm saying? So now you have to wait for this guy to push and finish so you can pull again. And then you want to push. In the meantime, God forbid this guy pushes this, then you've overwritten his code. Okay, so there is a strict communication needs to be done in order to kind of follow that pattern in terms of pushing your code. Now, GitHub is coming to rescue this situation by doing few things. And hold on a second, I need a shape. GitHub is going to rescue from this situation, right? So what GitHub is doing is saying that, okay, I'll keep track of versions, right? So this is your master. So GitHub will say, okay, I'm going to have a master and okay, I need more shapes. Okay. So the GitHub will say, I'll keep a copy as a master. That's what the GitHub is going to do. And master always going to leave remotely into the repository, meaning it's not in somebody's computer. So it's a remote master, right? So that's what GitHub is doing, right? It's going to say, okay, I'll keep a copy. Now, right here, this is a remote master because it's in the server. Okay, it's not on my computer and showing up here, right? So now it will say, okay, I'll keep always track of this guy. Then it will say that if somebody wants to commit or if somebody wants to push code here, there is a process in place to do that. And so now same guys, I'm gonna try to get the same. Okay, this guy wants to commit, and then let's say just create a few more guys. 1 second, I'll just put them on this side, probably better. Okay, just sync that in. If you didn't have a coffee, we can give it a minute break because this is something that you guys need to understand. So this is a server. This is somewhere in the website, somewhere in the, in the cloud. These guys have their computers, right? So now in order for them to contribute, what they will do, they will pull this code, they will clone it, meaning they will take exact copy. Okay. And that exact copy, they're going to say that belongs to their local computer, right? So therefore, what is the name of those copy? Is their local master. So they take it directly from here, and now it became their local master.
So the original will remain in the GitHub, right?
Right. Still the same. Nothing has changed in the original. And let's say local master. So this is in your computer. So they copied it and they cloned it directly to their computer. That's what they did. This is making me type everything. Okay. Local master. If somebody says, okay, in my local is this, they're just talking about their local master at work. Okay, and then the last person, and then we can start. So this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Q engineer, they will start working. And then what they did is, okay, what they did is they took from the server, they were given the URL. From there, they copied this code into their regular machine, their own computer, and it became local master. Okay, so they took everything. This guy took it from here. This guy, and I will probably make this correlation here. And then all these code went to their local master, right? When I say local master, it means they copied this code and put it into the, how do I copy this? Okay, let's go in here. If I want to copy this, I can do 2, 3 ways. I can download zip, which I don't recommend. I can take this and then copy this URL, and then I can go into my IDE, whichever IDE I use, and it needs the URL to copy all the code from here. Okay, and I'll show you. So now you have yourself with these copies that are identical, right? You can at any time You can check if you made any changes to your local. But what is the process of committing code back to the master? And there is a process, is that you first, now that you have your local master, based on the, okay, also you guys let me know if I'm being too difficult, okay, and then too fast, because it's pretty important. So you first have your copy, then this person wants to commit code, meaning he wants to contribute, or at least he wants to push some code. He will create a new branch instead of the local master name we have no control over, that is called master. Here he will give it a name himself, so he'll create something like whatever he wants to push. So let's say he's doing a login feature, so he's going to say feature slash login test, something like that. So he gave it a new name. This is called feature branch. Okay, so he took the code, okay, and he created a new version of it. These two versions are identical, right? In this version, he's going to make all of his changes. Okay, so let me see if I can represent by something. Oh, there was things that I could use. Okay, so now he's going to, this is his feature branch, right? This is a branch. This is his branch. Everything, these are different branches. This is one branch, right? Think about a tree. And now in his branch, he has some code that he would like to push. Okay. So now this branch is still in his machine. Okay. Then think about, this is GitHub at this point. Let me go into this, and I need one more shape. Think about, this is GitHub. Okay. And GitHub has this repository. Okay. I'm going to give it a name here. Okay. So this is your GitHub. It has this specific repository, right? It already has. And oh, now I can use these shapes. Okay. Cool. All right. So now what's going to happen is, if this guy wants to push his code, this guy right here, then he needs to be able to push it back here, right? So he's going to take this entire branch, which is right now locally in his computer, and he'll push it to GitHub directly. Okay. So now how many branches? So under this remote master, this is the repository, right? GitHub has this repository, and once it's pushed to GitHub, it will show up under this guy, okay, with a new branch. It's going to say new version. Okay. Now this thing is going to show up right here. Maybe I'll do the boxes instead. 1 second. So this thing is going to show up under that. Okay. And now this is called your remote feature branch, right? You already pushed it. So this feature branch, you pushed it here, and it is under still master. Master still do not was replaced. You didn't need to replace master. You only pushed a copy of master, right? A branch of master, or a, how do I say, version, one version of master, because you've made some changes. That means obviously it's a higher version than what it was. This one has some commitment. This one has some code, and each code that you committed here, right? Now you will have to create a request to say, I would like to take this code and put it in here. Okay. In order to do that, you go into GitHub, right? And you create a PR called pull request. Okay. Pull request will take place here, right? Put it in here. Pull request is basically, you're saying that this is my version of the code. In here, I wrote some code that are distinct than this one, that are basically different than this one. So I would like to compare what I have with this guy, and only take the code that are different, meaning only take the code that I added and put it in here. That's the pull request that you have. You guys understand? So
Yeah.
not,
So
it
so
will
what
not
happens?
replace.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So what happens to the original one, like in the remote master?
Remote
Whatever is there
master,
already.
yeah, it's already okay. The remote master already have the code, right? We haven't do anything. We just took a copy and then we added some code and we pushed it back. Now it appeared right under the remote master. And then GitHub gives us the ability to create a pull request, meaning we're comparing my version and the master version. We're going to compare and we're going to see what I am trying to add, right? So GitHub is smart enough to say, okay, everything else is same, only one file was changed. And that's the only thing you want to push to master. That's the pull request, right? So remember what I'm trying to say is that you are only trying to take what you added and put it into master, not the whole file is not being replaced, not the whole thing is being replaced, right? You guys understood?
So it's not overwritten, but it's been
It's
added.
not overwritten. It's only going to add what you have wrote.
So is it like the when we have a Google Drive, right? So
Mhm.
whoever is creating the file or whatever.
Mhm.
So if somebody else wants to edit or do something, they need the permission. So is it something like that, similar?
It's similar, but this is more on a higher, maybe like more onto the level where you have a lot of flexibility. You can do a lot of things. Google Drive or Google Sheets, the way it was created, that they know that their customer, or at least the people that uses it, they don't have a lot of experience. So a lot of things happens in the background automatically that you may not know. And it's going to be very similar, right? So think about that way. So now we're taking the changes that are only the changes that you made and putting it into the master, but it is a pull request. Now in this pull request, somebody is going to review. The process is that somebody's going to review the pull request. They're going to see, okay, wait, what is the difference between this and this? Okay, these few lines codes are good. And they're going to go for a merge. And when they do a merge, right? When they do a merge, what's going to happen is that it will take all the changes and push it to master, meaning like the merge was approved and all the code will go into the master. That is very different. Okay. And this thing, now they can delete it because it no longer is needed. It's identical, because remember, before even pushing my code, so if I was this guy, before I even push my code, I already took the identical copy of remote. First, I had a local, and then I changed the name. I created a new branch with a different name. I pushed it to GitHub, and then I compared both and then gave them a pull request saying that I would like to change, I would like to add my code. And how does the pull request looks like? We can just show you. There is two pull requests for this branch. Sorry, this repository. And as you can see, this one is being automatically checked. So this guy, he wrote every single thing that he did. He logged it. I did this, I did that, I did this, whatever, right? And now if you are reviewing this code, his code before merger, then you will say file change, what kind of changes that he did. I want to check side by side rather than unified, right? So apply and reload. And now I can see before he didn't have this, he added line number 14. Is it good? I'm gonna think about it. Or I can write comments here and say, hey, can you change this? We don't need that, right? He added, there were some line in 14, he updated that. As you can see, he updated this, he updated this, he also updated this, right? So similar to that, you can see what are the changes that he made. Looks like he updated POM.xml. As you can see, he updated the version of the libraries. Okay. And then he also updated some code. That's what he did. And now if I like his change and I feel like he did good, I can now go and click on, okay, let me sign in first, because in order to be able to, oh goodness, okay, one second, this needs my authentication. All right, 6-digit authentication code. I don't remember having it. Let's see. GitHub. I didn't even configure this. Okay. We sent you a message via SMS. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. But I didn't get it. Resend. Maybe that's okay. Got it now. And we have a bug in GitHub. 1 second. 115775. You know how like I every now and then I just automatically assume it's a bug and I just go like, okay, no, that's a bug, that's a bug. We as a QA, everything is guilty until it's proven to be, proven to be not guilty, or that's how we treat it. It's safer to put everybody into the guilty category and then just take one at a time and say, okay, this is clean, go. This is clean, go. Right? That's what we do. Obviously, that is the safest way to go. If you assume everything is happy, then everything is happy, right? And now later, you find out that there are some issues, even minor issues, where it could be a single issue that will pretty much put the company out of business, right? Okay. With that said, if I go to the conversation, let's see if I have power to merge. I do not have power to merge his code because I don't own this repository. But if I go into my repository, I'll be able to um, go ahead and merge. So my repository, and somebody from the last class created some pull requests. I'll go ahead and merge that. So he added new driver feature, he's added blah, blah, blah. Okay. So now if he added this, right, South added that. So I will go in here and I'll say, so you see how I wrote, I said, okay, make this, this, and that. I'm giving him recommendation. So your boss, your manager will always give you recommendation to say, do this and do that, right? So here I said, okay, this may break in Mac users, right? So anybody using Mac, because he updated this, right? Now Mac user cannot try run the test. Um, so these things, like you'll have to fix it, right? So let's say this recommendation came on your pull request, you'll have to go and say, okay, I'll fix it, right? I'll fix it. And then you have a fix and then updating, and you let him know that, hey, can you review one more time because I fixed whatever you recommended. These are welcomed. We do not look at it and be like, oh, wow, this guy wants me to, he's giving me a hard time and this. And no, it's not that. It's just, this is how you improve your code. Okay. Because he has more experience. He will probably tell you this line should be this way or that way. And you should be like thanking him, saying, hey, thanks for your review. I'm going to go ahead and update that. And that's totally fine. That is happening as part of your code commit, right? So now you see, like, if I want, I can do merge pull request. As soon as I click on merge, it will go into the master branch. So let's look at the branches, right? So you see them, this is the remote master. And then this guy, whoever just did this, he has his own branches, which are showing under. And I can see the difference between the branches. And that's exactly the representation that we did, right here. Now, master, we don't directly push to master. We always compare and see what is the difference. We go through a pull request, we review the pull request, we update if there is any final update needed, then only then I will either the person who wrote the pull request is the person who's going to go ahead and click on this, or sometimes you will not even see this because this is done by your manager or this is done by your lead because they don't trust people to push code and break everything, right? Imagine you go and join a company and you wrote some code and you pushed it and now it broke everything. And that's what they don't want. All right. With that said, any difficulty to understand so far the process, right? Because now I'm going to talk about the harder part where we have issues with, let's say, um, where there is issue, for example, conflicts. What is a merge conflict and how do you remove and fix? So far, so good. Do you guys understand this? So now, in order for you to do all this, can you do it through your IDE? Yes, you can. And I'm going to show you. There's two ways to do this, right? If you want to like make some changes and go ahead and push it in GitHub, you can do it directly from your IDE. And that's why you want to use IntelliJ and not use Eclipse, because Eclipse has some difficulty. I know they added recently the GitHub plugin, but I don't know how well that works. Anyway, so with VCS, you can add everything to GitHub first, and then you're able to push, pull, and do everything that I just said directly through the IDE. And so that's one of the thing. To starter, you don't want to learn let's say you don't want to learn the commands, because GitHub does have commands that you can use. Let me see. I'm going to show you guys. So now let's say I want you guys to think about this way. If you look at my screen, um, here I can do a few things. I can do all the work here in this black window instead of clicking here and there, right? This is like directly going to the brain of the computer. Now, in this terminal or CMD, if you have Windows, first I will create maybe a folder so I can show you that I have nothing in my folder, right? So first mkdir will create me a folder, and that's only for Mac users. For Windows users is different. And then I'll say like test 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and it did, right? So I'm gonna say ls, it will give me everything that I have in this computer, but I'm gonna go inside of test 1, 2, 3, right? And I'm inside of test 1, 2, 3. If I do ls, it doesn't have anything inside. Okay, just so you know. I did ls, it should list all the directory and files. It doesn't have anything. Let me clear out, since I'm inside of the test 1, 2, 3 folder. Okay, and it is under my name. So now let's say I would like to have my repository inside of test 1, 2, 3. So I created the directory. I'll go in here and I'll say, I want this repository. So what I will do, I'll go to the code. I'll copy either HTTP or SSH, but HTTPS I will copy because that's one way to do. The other way is SSH. The other way is to GitHub CLI. And the last way is that zip, download zip. Now I will say git clone. This is a command to get the copy in my local as a local master. So now if I do git branch, it tells me, oh, okay, 1 second. Ls, I have this already, you see? And now I can go into acceptance test, and then I can do git branch and see what do I have. I have master. Right now I have a local master. Okay, that means this is identical to the remote master. In this case, now I can say I want to create a branch. I can actually create a branch. So I can say git checkout -b, and B stands for branch, and I can say I want to create like maybe new test or something. Add new test, something like that. Add new test. And now immediately it will create a branch, and it will make me go to switch to that branch. If I do git branch now, you can see I am no longer in master. I'm into my feature branch. We just talked about that. And then once that is done, I can start to push code, pull code. I can say git pull. And if there's any new changes, it will pull. It says that my branch is not in the cloud, which is the remote, right? This branch is just local. So we can put it into the remote by this code. It's telling me how to do it. We're not ready to do that yet, right? First, we have to add some code, maybe make some changes, and then we can start to push it. Now, here's the thing. I don't want to confuse everybody. I can tell you guys the commands, exactly how to do everything. I can even write you down what you need to do from start to end. But first, let's understand the way that we will do this in our IDE. I just don't want to confuse. We will cover this on the next class, but I just wanted to show you there's two ways to do it. One is command, and the other one is using directly your IDE, and we will probably today cover only IDE. Okay, with that said, now this next person wants to push his changes, right? So now this master already got updated by his branch because he pushed and pull request and they liked his idea and they put it into the master. Now what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? There's two possible things is going to happen here. If it falls under that category, how many? I want somebody to give me an idea. This is same as think about like Google Sheets, right? Where everybody is writing and things like that. What do you think may happen here?
It'll update. So whenever someone wants to put in like another request, they'll start working on the newest sheet, which was approved and updated.
Okay, so this guy probably working on a register, let's say, and then what you're saying partially true is because now this guy, before he push everything here, before he make changes, or at least he's already making changes. For example, let's say this guy is already at the same time parallel, at the same time he was working. Now, before he wants to push his code, GitHub will give him a warning this time and say, hey, do you want to pull the latest master? Because master is no longer same. It does have 3 or 4 commit before you. This, and it's going to say this, your branch is behind. That's what it is going to say. So now it's nice enough to know that I'm not going to overwrite somebody's code because I know that there is code already being committed. So when I bring it here, I can say, wait a minute. So my changes are pretty much going to, it's saying that my changes are like at least my branch is outdated because it was updated prior to me pushing. I have two choices. One is that I can update my branch and then push, or I can push it just like this right here and then update it when it shows up in GitHub, because there is a way to do that in GitHub directly on the website to represent this by website. Think about that one. So now I can do it here or I can do it there, right? If there is a significant conflict, meaning this guy was working on login test and he updated the same exact file as you did, now it's not gonna even allow you to do anything. It will say conflict. There is a merge conflict, period. When it comes about merging, that's when that's going to happen. You're still able to push your branch, and then let's say somehow you pass the pull request, somebody reviewed your code, everything looks good, and they click on merge, and we show you how the merging happening. It will say, sorry, there is a huge conflict between this and that. It's going to say, I'm not able to push your code because there's a conflict. And now they're going to ask you, because you are the person who owns this branch, and they're going to say, hey, can you fix your conflict and then send it back? Now what you will do, you will take a look at this and see this guy also updated the same file. And now you'll have to see his changes versus your changes and which one you want to keep before you push it to the master, right? So he updated, let's say, line number 8 and you update line number 9. So you'll have to, it will give you recommendation and say, look, this guy updated this. Do you want his code? Do you want your code? And this conflict, there is 2 ways to remove. One is that first, all of your changes, right? In order to stay with current remote, all of your changes, you save it somewhere else. You can do it manually too. You can actually say, okay, look, I wrote these things. I'm going to copy this and put it somewhere for the time being. That's called stashing. You stash, and you stash that to the side, and then you do another pool. Once you stash it, now your local master and this feature will be at least somewhat prior to the identical what it was before. So now that this is this already has the changes, you can actually merge all the changes from the master to here to stay current. So you will pull it from the master and put it in here. This is called merging. You're merging all changes from master and putting it here in your branch. And the only way you can do it is if you took all of your changes that you made and put it somewhere else. And so that's what you did. You put it into stash. Now that your branch is now up to date, all the changes that this guy had is already in here. You can unstash. Unstash meaning whatever changes that you've saved it somewhere else, you can put it back, and now you can do the push and you will be able to merge it when it's ready to merge. Okay. Um, Now everything that I said, stash and unstash, is there a command for that? Yes, there is. You don't have to do that manually if you don't want to. Git stash, I'm gonna say git stash stash will allow you to put a code under a specific file, and this is where you can say name, whatever name you put, it will put it under. And git unstash, how does it know what to unstash if you have to provide the same name in order to unstash those changes after you updated your branch? So, so realize it already allows you to work simultaneously at the same time. All people can work at the same time with this process, because even if you are behind, you can still pull it from master, because this guy already pulled it. You can pull the changes only. It only takes the deltas. You guys understand, right? Only takes the differences. It doesn't take the whole thing and say, I'm going to replace it. It is smart enough to say, these are the only changes. These are the only 2 lines. So I'm going to only take the 2 lines. So when you pulled from the master after realizing your branch is outdated because this guy pushed, you only changed the differences, meaning you only took his information and put it in here. Every line of code that you write in GitHub will have your name on it, every single line. So if in the future I realize, oh, wait a minute, this is something is broken, I can say git blame. Okay, that's a real uh that's a real command. Okay, I can use git blame to find who wrote that line and when. I can find who updated that line and when. So it's always good to be honest when you make any sort of mistakes, right? If the lead, he wants to go that far, he can actually use git blame as a way to see who made what changes and things like that. Everything that I'm saying has a command. Everything that I'm saying and doing, we're doing manually and whatever, it has a command that you can use. I can show you. Git list of commands, let's a list of commands, and they have a lot of commands that you can use. Git cheat sheet, whatever, maybe that's the one. We'll look at it for now. And it tell you what you can do first. If you want to log in, git config, username, email, and then password, whatever. You see git branch right there, git branch checkout, git checkout, and so many, right? I sound repetitive right now, but we will learn by using it. That's what I will say, right? So right now it may look like crazy, right? But this is the process. When you join a company, whether you join as a developer or QA, this is the process that you will follow. If you're a coder, that means you could be a developer or you could be a QA, right? That means if you are a coder, you should know the process of pushing code. This is the way. Obviously, the naming a branch has a convention that you have to follow. A company has their own way to name a branch. They can do it this way, they can do another way, whatever the way that you will name, but the name should be relative to the change that you're making. Okay, and then you push your code. Can you push directly from local master to remote master? Yes, you can, but do you have the authority? No, you don't. So when you try to, let's say you make a mistake, you have no idea what the hell you're doing, and without pull request, without merger, without pushing it here, you want to, let me get a new red line here. Okay, this is a no-no, okay? So now you take your local master and you said, I would like to push directly in here. That's a no-no, right? Everybody's gonna get mad at you for this, for doing this. And now what you're trying to say is that I would like to push it directly here without any sort of pull request review, merger, anybody, nobody's looking at your code and you keep pushing it, okay? You can potentially overwrite somebody's code by doing this. Obviously, GitHub will try to prevent you and say, hey, we can't change that, right? But you can forcefully push, which will override, because there is a mechanism to, and there is a command for that also, right? Which is dash dash force will allow you to force everything in into the remote, and you should never do that. There is this process. If this process doesn't exist in your company and they continue to push it this way, you tell them you're not comfortable doing that. That is not the best practice. and you want to follow this rather. Every developer that you will work with, chances are they are following this, right? Um, there will be very few of you guys witnessing this situation when they hire somebody like yourself, brand new, and that person says, okay, I'm the only one who's doing automation, so I don't mind doing the pushing because nobody's gonna create conflict. There is no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people here. It's just one. So I'll just continue to push here. In theory, it will work, but the problem is you're continue to push code without any review. Nobody's reviewing your pull request. So you will soon realize that you kind of, into your own bubble, and your test is unreliable as time goes by because you're just pushing and pushing and pushing without any person giving you any sort of idea about like what you're doing wrong. But that is pretty much a no-no. If there's 2 QA, then this is no-no. If there's 3 QA, then this is a no-no situation, right? Everybody understood what GitHub and how the branching and everything works. No? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. For now, if you understood, that's
One-
totally fine. And we will practice those because you'll need hands-on practice. And I'll also be able to give you in writing once you get a job, and you can say, hey, I don't know how to push my code. Not a problem. I will give you step-by-step process on writing. All you got to do is follow those commands and you'll be fine. You can also put me on the phone, put it at FaceTime and show me what you're doing, and I'll pretty much help you to push your code, at least the first 1 or 2, so that way you're comfortable. Because it'll be very much confusing in the beginning, and you may end up, deleting stuff that you don't need to. There is a command that you can, so for example, let's say you mess up. You took the copy and you have your local master, and then you have a feature branch. On the feature branch, you made so much changes. Now you want to get rid of all the changes and start fresh. There is a command for that, right? There is one way that you can reset this, and it's called git re. This is a lifesaver actually, because you will not have to manually go in and do anything. Git reset hard, and this command takes other parameters. You can reset to a specific point of your changes. Um, but git reset hard by default will reset this branch, make it identical to this branch. Therefore, this branch already identical to this. So you erased all of your local changes. You erased everything that you did by doing this. And now you can start fresh if you want to. So there is a lot of commands that you can use. Now, anybody using IntelliJ, you have the terminal right here. Even if you are a Windows user, you can click on terminal. You can say git status, right? And obviously this is not a git yet. We didn't push this in git yet. So we'll push it, and then you'll be able to use this. And that's one of the good reason why we're using the IntelliJ, because I would like you to understand the same commands. The commands that we are using, it'll work in Linux and Unix, and also it'll work in Mac and Windows both, because Windows will give you a git bash. Git bash is basically think about the same terminal you're able to download in your Windows, and now you have the access to the same commands that you can use in order to interact with GitHub. And the easiest thing you can do is probably just use the interface, right click and then do this and do that. We'll show you that also. Okay, so pretty complicated process, right? But it has a meaning and why this is the way that it has to go, right? And it's because we want to make sure that our code doesn't overwrite somebody else's code, and then also we don't want to create conflict, which is these 3 branches no longer can push because they have so much changes and it's clustered. If they want to push this, then it will override a lot of things. And that's why we got the pull request. It gets reviewed by a lead, and then it goes for a merge. Once that is merged, it will only take the changes and so on. So these branches will line up right here. If all 5 at the same time push their branches, it will line up right here, and one by one will merge their changes to the remote master. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah. Where
Mhm.
is the changes start? From local master?
Changes will start from, so think about this way. You take copy and put it into your computer. That's your local master.
Yes. But
Okay.
cha-
Once you copied it, once you copy this is and this is identical, then you would like to make some changes because you want to do something, right? So when you want to make changes, for example, you're creating some login test, then you create a new branch, okay, from your local master. From this guy, you saying, I have a new version of this guy. The new version will have a name. The name will be related to what changes you're making. So if you're making changes to login, then you go ahead and name it this way. Once the name is done and you made your change already, you want to say, I would like to push this version of code to the master, and therefore you'll push it directly to GitHub. GitHub will put it right under the master branch. And I showed you how it looks like. And in this, right, in this, you are then able to create a pull request, and I'll show you how to do that. And then somebody can review and then click on merge. All the changes that you have here, only the changes will be merged to master after that.
Thank you, Bhaiya.
Okay.
Okay,
Any
but I
other?
have a question.
Sure.
Yep. Why company use GitHub? What is the benefit of the GitHub?
You tell me, because that's what we've been talking about it the whole class, right?
Mhm.
So
No,
you
because
tell me.
like when a company take an order to make some software or make software,
Mhm,
uh, the the developer who made the software
mhm.
is the work in GitHub or is the work in another platform like the company own
Most
platform?
likely 90, I would say 90% plus companies work in GitHub is because of the reliability. And the other thing is that multiple developers can work at the same time. There's a pull request in place, and there's a lot of data analytics that can be done in order to detect problems, in order to test your code even on the fly. As soon as it comes here, you can add another mechanism to just test your code to make sure code is following a proper standard and things like that. Now, what is the benefit, right?
Yes.
What alternatives are you thinking about if you don't want to use GitHub, right? Let's say a company, let's say you own a company and your development team um, is not using GitHub, then what alternatives do they have? And
Hmm?
tell me what are the disadvantage of that alternative.
Okay, there are a lot of disadvantages like the communication gap is huge.
Mm-hmm,
The GitHub
mm-hmm,
take the mm, problem solving issue
mm-hmm.
more than one or two team they work together in GitHub and alternate no they don't have. But my question is, so GitHub is not the platform to make software, like it's the platform to communicate how to write code with
Mm.
coworkers, like.
Think about this way. GitHub is a place where it helps you to see what changes you're making, and it's more visual for you, right? Difference isn't changing. It will give you difference every time it shows a branch. It will say, okay, this is different than master, and this branch has this many code or that many lines, and it'll show you compare directly with master. But GitHub is a platform where you can collaborate. You can basically work simultaneously with the other developers or QA engineers at the same time without being afraid of um, erasing their changes when they update the remote master. That's one thing. The second thing is the pull request in place will provide a way to um, pretty much vet everything on verify all the code before even pushing it to master. So your master is always healthy. It's because there is anything and everything that goes into master, you are doing a pull request, and then the pull request gets reviewed, and then it goes March. Um, Compared to you just continue to push your code and hope that nothing breaks, right? Um, and then also, if if alternative to GitHub, you'd have to ask your coworker, hey, did you merge yesterday? Okay, you did. Okay, all right, now I can start working then. Now he's gonna make a change, but before I even merge is this guy comes here and and start to, he made the push and I don't know about this guy. I didn't know that he pushed it. I go ahead and push my code. Now what I did, what I just did, I probably erased his, code. So all that work that this guy did 2 or 3 days is gone because I just didn't ask him. I only asked this guy or that guy or everybody
Mhm.
else. I forgot to ask this guy. So the collaboration is a huge problem without GitHub, right? If you have a single developer, I understand. You're sitting at home and writing your code, and you can put it here or there. Doesn't really make a big difference, right?
Mhm.
But here, when you have more than one developer around the world working, it makes a huge difference. And then the second thing is that every time, like because it tracks version, so in remote master, you can say like, okay, yesterday there was some code got added and there is a problem. I would like to roll back. I can roll back any changes that was done yesterday and put it to the side until I figure out what's the problem. I can go in any point of time and I can say I would like to roll back, because what GitHub does is gives you a version for everything. So you can see version have an ID. You see each commit is called commits, right? What I did, what somebody else did, when they did it, everything has an ID. And the reason why it provides an ID is because you can actually roll back to this ID. And now these two changes will be gone. I can choose these changes to be gone, right? I can choose what changes that I don't like. Something that was introduced and has a problem, I can go ahead and remove. Can you do that without GitHub? That's the question, right?
Mhm.
If you have there is other tools like GitHub. It's called SVN Subversion, and there's other tools like GitHub. There's few um, tools out there, and I can say it's called version control tools, right? And let's see what else list. I'm gonna list it. Git is the first one on the food chain right here, right top of the food chain, and then you got CVS, you got SVN, Mercurial. I use Mercurial, SVN, both. TFS is another one. TFS is also highly used, but the basic idea is same. All right, TFS is easier to use because you got a lot of um, visuals right there. SBN is also a lot of visual. SBN is basically any file in your computer, you can right click and push and pull, right? As long as that is shared with the rest of the team, it's like a shared drive. Then you have GitHub, which has both. You can do more than one thing, and that's what we're going to focus on. So in your resume, we will probably talk more about GitHub than anything else, because first of all, anybody knows GitHub, this will be a piece of cake for them, right? GitHub is probably the complex, but also highly used because of its flexibility. All right, any more questions? Everybody understood this, right? Because I'm going to ask questions as soon as
I
you
have a
guys say no.
question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, okay, if the company hires software developer QA, so why do they need to work on the GitHub? Like, is it separate, or is it like they're gonna work on, at the same time? I'm confused.
So when you remember, if you are a QA or if you are a developer, right, and you write code, simply call yourself a software engineer, right? Now, any software engineer who writes code for work, and they have to deliver the code, right? Don't they?
Mm.
They have to
Mhm.
push their code. Otherwise, you can write it in your computer. You can say, I wrote it. That's it. And everybody will have to believe you. That's it. Nothing else that they can do, right? But the code needs to be into the right place. In order for you to put it into the right place, which is this in this case, right? You're gonna first create a branch, like I said, and then you're gonna push. And then when you come here and you create a pull request, right? And it will then, you know, it will then show up here. So let's do one real quick before we go on a break. We got 6 minutes. What I'm gonna do is that since I already have this in my local setup, I already cloned it, right? What I'm going to do, I'm going to open it through this guy. Okay. So I'm gonna file,
Just a
open.
quick question at the same time. So if I do it on the GitHub, so it will be like public, right? But like if I work on the
We
company, it
yeah,
should be like confidential, right? It cannot be like public. I'm just
yes,
wondering.
and if you remember, I said it in the beginning, for anybody that's not paying GitHub, right? It's not a paid subscriber. Things they have to do is public. They have to, there is no other choice. If I want to make this private, I'll have to pay for it. Now, the company, can they afford to pay to make it private? I think they can, right?
Okay.
So let's do one thing before we go into a break. So you guys already noticed that I have copied, right? I did have a copy, and I'm already in the add new test branch, correct? I already copied this in my local. Local is done. Local masters I have, and I have the feature branch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go directly to my feature branch, open, and again, this branch, this is different, right? We're going to push this at the end of the day. And now I have to find, where did I put it? So you see test 1, 2, 3. This is the folder I put my stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and click the acceptance test, and I'm going to open it. And I'm going to start making changes, preview and save mode. And I'm going to just say, trust the project. I will say new window so nobody's confused. And that's what I want to do. And we're going to create a pull request just now and show you a process. Okay. Now, the first thing first, I will click on, and this is available to all of you, Windows or Mac. You click on the terminal and you want to verify where you are. Okay. You want to say git branch, and it'll tell you you're in add new test branch. And also right here, somewhere in the bottom, it'll tell you which branch you are in. Okay. So right here, you see, and you can actually switch between branches. You can go to the master. This is the remote master. Sorry, this is the remote master that is in cloud, and this is the local master. This is your local master. So if you click on remote master, it'll just copy and put it into remote. You directly cannot access remote from here. Now that I am in my branch, this branch does not exist into the remote. As you can see, there is no other branch. Okay, because this branch is still here. So I'm going to make some changes first so I can go ahead and put it. So I'm going to make a very minor change. Okay, so marketers, we wrote a test before on this, and I'm just going to go ahead and write a comment. Okay, I'm just going to say this test needs, let's say, needs to be updated or something like that. I'm just writing for the purpose of showing you how do I push. Now, if I do git status, what did I just did? I see Mercury Tours is red because I updated this. You see, it automatically recognizes. You also can see this line right here that shows that you made some changes. If I look at it, you can also see it changes color because it realized you made changes. I can push this directly from my terminal from here by saying git, commit and all that stuff. But I will use my IDE to show you how easy that is. So git, first I need to commit because I made the changes. I have to commit it. I will say commit. Okay. In the commit, it will then ask you, what do you want to write? So you see how I made the changes here. Within idea was also updated. Don't even worry about it. This is the setting for the IntelliJ. So I'm gonna only push the changes that I just made for now. And as you can see, it will tell me comparing with the before and after. This change I want to do, I just will say okay, added a comment only, for example, what I did. That's it. I'm going to say commit and push at the same time, and go ahead and do commit and push and commit and push. Okay. And you see pushing, and then now it says login via GitHub. Okay, so I'm gonna have to log in because I'm not logged in my local for some reason, and authorize. So I'm gonna say authorize the IntelliJ to be able to use my GitHub, and I'm gonna say authorize IntelliJ, and I think we should be good to go after this. So this is one thing that you have to do in the first time when you use GitHub. Okay, so let it done. Let it finish this thing. I see it's pushing in the bottom already. Look, logging in and doing his thing. So it's rather automatic. This used to be manual until recently they updated the software. You would have to manually log in from GitHub. to GitHub, but now you don't have to. So we're just waiting to finish the push. It doesn't take that long. I think it's because of the logging in and all that. So we just have to wait for that. If the browser redirect, please back. Okay, okay, it didn't redirect me for not authorized for some reason. So let's see what's happening here. It says not authorized. Okay, that's fine. I'll try to do the push again because we already committed. We'll just go directly to push. Okay, use token, login via. Okay, I'll use token. Okay, so I'm gonna go and generate a token. Okay, click on generate token and it'll take me directly what I need to generate, you see. And now all I have to do is generate token. I'll do copy. I already had a token before. Oh, this is my work one. Okay. And then I will go into okay. Okay, let's go back to this and I'm gonna put the token. Control V, login, and done. Okay, pushed. I just pushed it. Okay. Now, after the pushing, what do you see? You come in here and you go to your branch. You can see that add new test had a recent push less than a minute ago. Now, if you see, my branch should be right here underneath the master. What I can do is then compare and create a pull request. I'll click that. And then before I even go into like create a pull request, I can even review my own changes. I can see what changes that I made in the bottom. So I'm happy with my change. I'll say, okay, create a pull request. And now somebody can come in here and say, okay, review the changes by click on review. And they say, okay, this looks good. And now if that looks good, I'll say, okay, fine. Merge pull request, you see, merge it. And now I can delete this add new test branch because it's no longer needed. If I need to, I delete it, whatever. And now I go back to my master. Now we're in master and we can go into the test and we can see that the changes that we made was put it into the master after the pull request was done. So this was just a show to show you guys how GitHub actually works. And this is something that we have to do regardless. Think about this way. If you're going to be doing coding, this is one way to deliver code. And we have to learn that right now, if it sounds complicated, looks complicated, don't worry about it. Even if you get a job, I can write you down what needs to be done because this is not like you have to think too much about it. You just need to know the process. That's it. This is not like, oh, I have to, there's 1,000 things. No, this is, you're basically committing and then pushing code and then coming in here, creating a pull request and asking somebody to review your code and things like that. So even if you are not super comfortable, I can still give you a cheat sheet to take it to work. And you can even show it to the people over there and they'll be fine with it. You can just say, look, I'm not too comfortable with GitHub. I have my cheat sheet and they're going to be fine with it. Maybe the first or second or third time you push your code, you will 110% be able to push it without looking at the cheat sheet. So it's all about practice. I told you guys from day one, if you didn't practice automation, if you didn't practice some of these things that we're talking about, I can come here and sit down and try to pour all the knowledge. It will not happen. It will not happen. Trust me. Yeah. So think about the situation. Even if you go slow, it's fine, but steady, right? Always have something to do. Daily basis, I need at least, to write a single line of code. If you can, write some test cases, one or two, and take this as a, enjoyment. Just automate something that you really like to automate, And, but what we will do today when we, so this is from the last, okay, this is from the last one. This is what we're going to push this code to GitHub today. Since it's a brand new branch, it doesn't have a Git, as you can see. And we're going to write 2 more tests, 3 more tests, and I'm going to ask you guys to automate using this branch. So if you're not able to create yourself this framework, you'll be able to pull my code after today and then locally set up and then being able to automate. For Windows users, the only changes you'll have to make after pulling is that put yourself a Windows version of the Chrome driver and change the path. That's it. That's all you have to do if you want to make the same code work in your computer.
I have a question. I
Yes.
was watching the Udemy BDD lesson.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that the dependencies he added were the
Different.
Selenium, yeah, Selenium, Java,
Mhm.
Cucumber Java, and TestNG.
Okay.
So I'm confused there. Like you showed
So
the other, yeah, you can go ahead.
yeah.
So that's why.
So again, like whatever fits your need, right? So this guy added TestNG with Cucumber. I wouldn't recommend that. But he did that because, you know, it's just a library, right? It's not like there
Mhm.
is a hard requirement. I can add TestNG here if I need to, but do I want to do TestNG and Cucumber at the same time? I don't think so. Um, because when you have Cucumber, right, you already are, you already have a feature file that you can organize, and you can write annotation here, how even custom annotation here, and then specify how you would like your annotation to be running. With the TestNG, the annotation doesn't go here. The annotation, if you put here, it's not going to work because you have Cucumber. You have another layer. You have to put annotation into your in your class files, and the problem is that that's unnecessary amount of work for no reason, right? And you're overcomplicating the framework, which is something that I wouldn't do. um, so yeah, when you look at the guys, when you look at any other person's framework, it's another perspective, because I can do what I like, meaning the framework I can do the way that I want to do, meaning I may have a better idea, or I may have a way to make it easier compared to another person, or that other person can be having a way to make it more easier than me. The one thing that I would like to prepare you guys for is that when you join a company, and they already have a framework, it's just that you have to work with the way it is. Somebody who built it, whatever he thought at the time was good, that's what he built. And same thing, like we're building everything from scratch. So whatever I think we need, I will put it, because that's, you know, that's what I'm doing. You know, that's what they hired me for. So you'll come in here and you will basically say, okay, what do I need to learn? You look at the list and say, okay, I need to use these things. And that could be your first day at work, and you can just say, okay, they're using Cucumber Core, Selenium. Okay, that's great. Now you can start to make yourself more familiar with these libraries so you can use them, you know, for work. But again, all the frameworks will be different. Any frameworks, wherever you go, it'll be different, because it's a completely new person doing that. We don't just take from one GitHub repository and then start to build on top of that. It would be easier because now you can make, you know, just job switches easier. You don't have to have learning curves when you join. But now, remember, everybody who codes, they will do it the way that is easier for them to do. All right, with that said, let's take a small
I
break.
have a question, Bhaiya.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, if we want to push and pull to
Mhm.
GitHub, so we don't need to install anything right now. My
Mhm.
understanding is that in IDA they have also, if we want to push and pull, they
Mhm.
have built in the GitHub. Is that right?
Exactly. Yes, for now, this is the way that I'm going to show you, because, you know, I don't expect people to learn those commands overnight. You can use your IDE, yes. And then if you are a Windows user, there is a complexity to that, right? Windows is always complex for some reason. So Mac, you will be simply be able to say,
Bhaiya, I have a question here. Where do you get this space? I don't understand. Where do you get
do you use Mac or do you use Windows?
this Mac?
Mac, right?
Yeah.
This is called terminal. That means you're not using your Mac enough, right? This is
Yeah.
called terminal. If you write it onto the spotlight search right here, and you can say
Yes.
terminal.
Yeah.
This is, yeah, this is what it is. Everything that I write here, like for example, ls, cd, these are Linux or Unix commands, because Mac underneath,
Yeah.
the system is actually Unix, right? They're using Unix, and everything else that you see, like for example, this and you it's nicely done, right? You know, the interfaces is being built top of a OS system, which is called Unix. And that's why we're able to write all these commands. In Windows, you have to open up something called CMD, right? And then you can type, but it's not going to be same. Windows, if you would like to see the same thing, CD means give me everything in this directory in Unix and Linux. But in Windows, you're going to say dir, and then it'll give you everything. So the commands are different. Windows versus obviously Unix, Linux, and but you can also install this in Windows. It's called Git Bash.
So this one is you're just showing for learning purpose, because I can see that in IDE it's already there, the terminal.
Exactly.
All right.
So I can choose to use this, or I can choose to use this. What is the difference between both? Nothing. It's the terminals right here.
Yeah, I think this one is easy.
Yeah. So whatever you guys find it easy, like I said, I'll show you what doors are open for you, and you choose to go to whatever door you want. With that said, let's do a break, because I don't want people to
But
lose
here I have a
focus.
small question.
Go ahead.
Okay, when we work on a project, so in GitHub, do you need to write every single piece of code in GitHub, or like, yeah, that's the question. Do you need every single code of
But
in
how
GitHub?
how else you're gonna push code to the master?
Yeah.
Like you wrote, like, let's say this is all empty and you wrote a
Yes, this is
single
the
line.
all of.
You don't just push one line at a time. Like, okay, I wrote one line here, I push one line. You put the work. You basically, if you have to write 20 lines to finish one test case, then that's what you push.
Whole project I pushed in GitHub, right?
What define what whole project means?
Okay, whole like test case.
Whole test case. Okay, so that's make more like it, right? Because when you say whole project, that means you're saying I'm gonna just write the whole thing, and then I'm gonna then push it after 6 months. No, you push. If you wrote a test case and that was you were asked to do, this is your assignment, and you only push that. So let's say in workplace you'll have ticket number, and I'll probably show you guys. I don't know if you guys want me to go into ticketing today, I'll show you guys how the ticket works. But in workplace is that, let's say you finish this test case because there was a ticket issued to you. Let's say the ticket number is, let's say, automation AUT or auto dash 0987, something like that. So now this is your ticket number, and in order to push all the code, this is all the code for the ticket number. Then you push once, and that's it, done. Then you go move on. They give you another ticket to work on, and you finish that ticket, and you keep pushing for each and every single time you get an assignment. So this is your assignment for the time being. You finish, you push, that's it. You don't put everything in the same thing, same branch. You then get out of this branch and create a new branch, and then work on the second ticket, and then do the same thing. Okay.
Like in a project, how many people work on the test purpose?
It could be 1, it could be 10, right? It's really depends. It really depends. But it's never going to be just a single person. It'll probably be at least more than, but remember, like, I know what you're thinking. You're probably trying to avoid GitHub by thinking like, maybe in my project, I will not have as many as QA, so I can just use directly. The thing is that you want to use GitHub even if you are by yourself, right? Because think about this way, let's say, let me bring up my GitHub real quick. Where did it go? Okay, it's right here. All right. So think about this. So your manager comes and say, okay, what were you doing? And things like that. And you don't remember everything that you did. You go into your commits, you can actually see when and how you pushed your code. Somehow on the day of March 20th, all the code stopped working and things are going crazy and you're losing your mind. You don't know what went wrong. Tell me, what can you do to fix it here, just by looking at here?
So I just looking around what like one It's day by day, like March 20, March 21, March 29.
Or you can do is that you can say, okay, I'm gonna take out all the March 20 related code. Go ahead and remove those
Check this.
two. Yeah, and then now you can figure it out, right? Meaning like one at a time. You remove this, try, okay, it's working or not. You remove that and you put it back and then remove the other one, and until you find the real problem. And
So then so then I'm working in whole project in GitHub.
I really don't understand your question, because
Okay,
we covered that.
this is a project, like this is BDD Cucumber project for JetBlue. So I need to work in every single piece of code in GitHub, like for a project. If I don't, okay, like
You will not look. You will not split everything, and put it into different buckets, right? It's a single bucket. You are pushing your code in GitHub, meaning you are.
Okay, in a GitHub, in a single bucket, I push a project like
This
this
is the
JetBlue project.
repository. Think about this is your repository, which is your bucket, and everything is in here. Every time you push, you're putting the difference. You're not pushing the whole thing. You're pushing what changes you made, and that's it. That's the only thing you're doing. So, for example, you look one of our PR right here, pull requests, and this guy wants to push the changes that he made. Let's see what changes he made. So he made line number 6 to 11 and 12, and then he made some changes here. He's not pushing the entire repository. Okay, he's not replacing the entire repository. He's only pushing what changes that he makes one at a time, right there. Okay. That answer your question, or you're still confused?
No, that's fine. I think I understand this.
Yeah, because it's not like when you say whole project like over and over again, I don't know, if you had the right understanding of how GitHub works. But like I said, you, instead of taking all of this, when you say project, it means all of these files and folders and classes, whatever is in them, everything in it, right? So you cannot just keep it in your computer. What if your computer somehow doesn't want to turn on one day, right? So for that purpose, you're putting it into GitHub, which is a cloud. At this point, it has an URL. And now, in order to, when you make changes, don't you want to update this already, like whatever changes you made with? So you can basically have the new changes that you made should be in here in master too, right? So now when you are making these updates, you are simply sending a different version of this guy, the master, different version. And we talked about those versions already. These are feature branches.
Yes.
And then when you create a pull request, you're comparing this guy with this guy, master, and saying, hey, look, these are the changes before and this is after. Can I actually merge it, this guy? So it's saying, can I merge it? And I can go ahead and, being the person who is authorized to do that, I can say, okay, merged. And I can click on merge, and now all of his changes that he made will be now in master. Okay. All right, so I think you guys need a break because it's your mind is playing tricks. But when you come back, if you guys are confused, think about it for a second, a little bit, and I'll leave that up in here. And when you come back, you're free to ask more questions. But like I said, just think why we even use GitHub in the first place. There is a lot of problems without it. Let's take a break. Right now it's 12:48. Do you guys think you guys need 15 minutes or in half an hour?
Half an hour.
Half an hour. Okay. So it's 12:48. Let's come back at 1:15, I believe. Yeah. Let's come back at 1:15. It's a couple minutes less than half an hour, but we'll be fine. So I'll see you guys in 1:15. I'll write it in here. Okay. $1:15 p.m. All right, so I'll see you guys at 1:15. When you come back, we're gonna go back to automated test. Remember, this is a sneak peek. I gave you guys an idea now we're going to slowly use it to learn it. We're not going to just go ahead and, okay, here's push this and push that. No, we're going to use this GitHub from our, initially from our IntelliJ. And this should give you guys some idea why we've been doing. Otherwise, if I just click and start to push code, you will say, oh, what is it? I don't understand. Why are you doing this? You know? So now you have a greater picture to see why we do it the way we do. We're going to push things slowly. And like I said, in my class, a lot of things that you will do, you will learn by doing it, because that's probably the effective way. I can spend 2 classes with this, or I can just do it one thing at a time. When we write our code, we have to push it right end of the day. So we'll just go ahead and keep pushing. And part of that will be learning for us too. All right, so that's good. Once we cover GitHub, there is one more tool that I need to cover with you guys. And probably we'll do it the next class. And then we're gonna start to do some real work with the automation. But when you guys come back, I'm gonna do a small quiz to understand where you are with automation, if you guys can write automation by yourself or not. All right, see you guys later. There we go. So if you look at this one, right, this is like, up until now, whatever we did, if you understood perfectly, you can probably apply for this job and start to, you know, and possibly can get this job if you want. Similarly, and I'm only doing it with QA tester. I haven't even put QA analyst and engineer. So if I do this, and now you can see the variation of salaries is probably more than before. These guys are paying 160, you know, up to 160. These guys are paying 145. Let's see, and it's remote. Most of the job is remote. You see remote 110, 70 an hour. Typically, you know, as a automation, 60 to 70 is like you can expect, at least hourly base. You got a 107 to 135K. So really, whatever the company can afford will probably pay. It's 58 to 120. This is like, you can probably agree to like 110 or 100. Right. So this is just to show you guys that some of the things that we're learning, it's not just because we just want to show you, it's because we need these things, few things to be for you guys to learn in order for us to make it easy for us to get you hired. This is associate QA role. This is a junior QA role, right? Associate, anytime you see associate, that means you're not really going to become somebody who's, you know, make a lot of decisions. So 2 and 4 years experience and we're good to go. Remember, your experience is going to reflect 5 to 6 years based on this course. So this is definitely more than the qualification. And then you have really like I don't see any technical skills that they need from you. Look at this. Just read it and you can see like there's not a lot of technical skills that you need. Work with dynamic product and engineering. Dynamic means changing environment, right? Always something, you know, it's always going to be related to something, right? So can you do that? Organize and improve quality nomad product. Also key Scrum team. So Agile Scrum, as long as you know that, the rest of that is just you as a human being being dedicated and taking ownership of your work, and that's it. Okay. It doesn't even care about tools. There are some tools that are mentioned, bonus qualification, SQL, and things like that. That's what you're learning right now. Selenium, you're just learning. So even if you didn't know this, they would probably hire you because it's not even mentioned in the core what you will be, you know, what you will need to learn. These are just bonus qualifications. So just think about it. And I would say, you know, little bit at a time. I know it's going to feel, I know sometimes it feels like you guys all of a sudden this and all of a sudden that. Just when I feel comfortable with TestNG, they're making us do Cucumber, or just when I felt comfortable with Cucumber, we're doing page object. It's going to be like that, but you want to take one thing at a time. You want to basically, if I'm touching something today, a topic, I want you to just try to for that week, just try that and that's it, and move on, and we learn something new. The idea is that at least knowing, and not able to do, but at least knowing is enough also, because when we are out there in the job market, many times you're going to find yourself, you just know what it is, but you don't know how to define to take the interview, because you can talk about it, right? You just don't know how to use it, but it's fine. You can learn that. You already know the basics. So that's what it is. Like I said, if you, for example, let's say you got this job, then I would have asked you to do one of our course from the Udemy, and then you'd be ready for the job for this one, and you should be good to go. All right, this is just to give you guys a little bit of booster in terms of motivation. Some people, needs that, some people don't. Some people, they know exactly what they're doing. And some people need some sort of reminder every now and then. So I hope this helped. All right. Any question? If no question in GitHub, we will move on with the automation test, and we'll write our first automation in the insurance demo website. Okay. So this is the one. This time around, I may select another product, right? This is personal, this is business. I may choose business charge insurance, business job insurance, whatever, crop insurance. And then automate 2 test cases for the remainder of the class. And then what I need from you guys after that is that with Cucumber, automation, as we are advancing, as we are touching advanced topics and making this framework more and more easier to use, I want you to keep automate using this website. All right. How many people here are very comfortable with Selenium? Like, let's see. I want to ask this question because that way it will help me to understand if I'm going, if I'm going fast or slow. So if you, okay, just raise your hand if you are the person who at least any of the framework that we use can automate a single test case without having to feel like they're copying and pasting everything, right? And so that's one. Rifat is one. Who else? Anybody else? Side is 2.
I didn't get the question. Could you repeat, please?
The question is, if you can, any of the framework so far that we covered, if you can automate a simple test case, it could be login, it could be anything, without having like so much of a difficulty, right? You feel like you have at least 20% knowledge and you can guide yourself through to write the test. Okay, and then, all right, now I can see much more hands. Raihan is there.
Sir Jewel, I can too, but if I follow the steps, I could do it.
Okay, that's fine. That's what I'm talking about. You can,
Yep, okay.
yeah. If you
But
feel
that's also
like,
count.
yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Who else? If you follow the steps without kind of messing up everything, like if you are the person who feels like you're afraid that you're gonna mess up something big and you feel like there is no light, your mind is kind of like dark because you don't know where you're going, then you shouldn't raise your hand. But if you know exactly, like even if you had to like go and Google things, it's fine. But yeah, if you close your eyes and you feel like everything is dark, and that means, obviously you don't have initial knowledge, the fundamentals. Okay, so that's fine. That's good to know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of you guys are, which is great, because what I would like to do is that I'd like to create a small program here, right? That you guys can pair up with the other person. So everybody that raised hand will pair up with the other person, and I want you to mentor the other person. And if you guys need a link for the and this is something that I want you to do, and that because the next class I'm going to ask you, who did you teach, right? Who did you, can you put your hands back? Those who did that, just put your hands back, because I'm going to just pair you with someone. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. That means
So
you should be able to, yes.
I have a question. It's Fatima. Before you pair me with someone,
Mhm.
I think among the 7, I am the last one because whatever time they take, I
Mhm.
need 3 times more time than those guys.
That's fine.
So
You just,
yeah.
that's
No,
fine.
no, I'm agree with Fatima. I'm also last one, I feel.
Okay, that's fine. As long as, look, you raise your hand, even if you feel like you know, and later you feel like, oh no, I'm in then just do your a little bit of homework to help the other person, and that's it. Fake it till you make it. So 7 people I saw initial hands. Now it's 5 people, right? All right. So I'm gonna, okay, Rifat and Syed, like you guys are definitely ahead of everybody else. I would say you guys can pair up with more than one. And I will probably match you guys like to, this is just for you to say, okay, here, just explain on writing a simple test case and explain what you understood. So somebody can get that extra help, like in terms of how you were able to write that test automation. So spend as much as time to kind of like go over everything that you did and do it from scratch, right? And you do it just like the way that I'm doing, showing you guys how to write the test automation, but also, because it's one-on-one, you guys can interact more. And also you can probably watch them do it and then can just provide what you think. So now I only have 5 hands. That's why I'm kind of like, stopped at matching you guys. Okay. So who wants to work with Syed? Let's just go. I need 2 to 3 people that didn't raise their hand.
I can work with him.
Okay, so Mavish, I'm gonna write a list here and then I'm gonna send it over to you guys. Okay, so
You said 2 of them, so I can join.
okay.
Yeah, you can add me as well on that.
Okay, Syed will work with MAHWS Mavish, and then sorry what the SAW T, and then
SARWAT.
oh, SARWAT. Okay. And who else?
Me, Jahanzeb.
You said Reswan, right?
Yeah.
Or
Reswan.
Okay. Okay. So Syed, you have 3 people under you. So you guys are a team for at least until the next class that I do. And I want you to coordinate with all 3. And to make sure, this is your job to make sure these people actually understand, right? In terms of being able to just go into any website and be able to automate something simple. That's it. Get them up to speed. Okay. So try to do it with Cucumber if you can. If not, at least any other framework will be fine, because at least, the core portion is Selenium.
So Malvish, Sarwat, and Rizwan. I'll just make a quick WhatsApp group chat real quick.
Yeah, do it. Yeah. Okay. So
Wait,
that would be great.
sorry, I'm just confused. Did you mean me or Rizwan? Because I said my name Jahanzeb, but I'm not sure Rizwan said his name.
okay, sorry. Rizwan is probably gonna be another group. So because your Zoom is saying
I see what the
that's what I
problem
see.
is. My name is wrong. I'm sorry, I'm on my phone. I'll change it.
What's your first name?
Jahanzeb. I see it. J-A-H. Sorry about that. Jahanzeb.
ZEB. Okay, Jahanzeb.
Yeah.
Okay. So these 3 people is side responsibility. Rifat, I think Rifat is much ahead of everybody else. Everybody just keep your hands raised, those who's gonna pair up. So make sure, and I see people are leaving their hands, just keep it up. So okay, Rifat is gonna have 3 also, because I think he can take more than 2. All right, who wants to be in Rifat's team?
Me.
Okay, Hasina.
I'm Tina.
Oh, Tina, right? Okay. Okay.
You can pair me up as well.
Sina.
Raihan. Okay. Oh, right. HN and then Hasina, right? Okay. HA. Okay. Rifat can probably take one more if anything, but let me know if I'm missing anybody. All right. So here's the deal, right? This is called mentorship, right? And Rifat and Syed, you guys have a lot of responsibility to obviously remaining of the raise hand will get their people, but this is a huge responsibility. Take it seriously because your teamwork, you're the team lead at this point, right? So if somebody is not focusing, if somebody is not following, if somebody is not coming on the schedule time that you guys then feel free to drop them and take somebody else, and then let me know who you dropped. But the idea is that until all three are good to go in terms of understanding, you will provide them with a little bit of mentorship. And obviously, I know everybody works here, so do it in a time that you guys are able to do. So you guys can, so it's going to be 2 WhatsApp group for both. And then, okay. So this is called pair programming also, by the way. So there is pair PHA, right? Oh my goodness, pair. How do I spell pair, guys?
PAIR, pair programming.
No, pair, right? Okay, I did it for first time I did it right, but it's spelling is not the strongest for me. But anyway, so you got the pair programming. What happens at work is that, and this is gonna rather fix. I guess this is gonna help Syed and the people that is under him, is that when you join a company and initially you cannot contribute, you cannot really do much because you don't have any understanding of the code base and the project and product, you will do pair programming with somebody. And then pair programming requires for you to kind of like understand what they're doing and tell them, and not kind of make them feel really annoyed, right? So try to be as moderate as possible, understand, hear about their problems, and then try to address as much as you can. This is also your time to kind of improve whatever you already know, because when you teach somebody else, when you kind of go over something to somebody else, you end up learning even more. So try to get that.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the best ways in my opinion.
Yeah. Let's see, in Famida and Fatima, right? So let's see, Fatima. Who wants to be in Fatima team?
Quick question. So I have Sarwat, Jahanzib, and Mavish, right?
Yes.
Mavish, did you get the invitation for the?
Oh, is that you, Heather?
Yeah.
Okay, because I do not accept random invitations. I was just confused.
Yeah.
I said that name is not familiar. Okay, I will accept it.
Okay,
Thank
perfect.
you.
Sounds good.
All right, so let's see who wants to be in Fatima's team. How many people left so far? I think okay, we got Tina. Okay, Red's one. Okay,
the problem is I'm not in group.
What do you mean?
I'm not in WhatsApp group.
Oh, you're not in the WhatsApp group. Okay, so you were never added. Were you like the last person or something? Okay, so
Teach, Joel, I changed my mind. Can I go to Rifa's group, please?
okay, fine.
Thank you.
Okay, so in this case, I guess it's gonna be a big group to Rifat and
you could ask Rifat if he wants to take me.
We'll place in here. I think he doesn't mind. Looks like
Thank
he's
you.
gonna be fine. I just want to see. Okay, Famida is also good. So you should get your own group for sure. So let's see. So far, who we missing? So Mavish is there. Sure. Okay. Let's see total. I'm gonna just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people. 9 people. We're 15 here. That means we are missing 4 people, right? So at least I can put 3 here. So if your name not is here, just go ahead and let me know. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Rezwan, R-E-G. Okay, Rezwan is gonna be in Famida's group. Who else?
And then me, Afrina.
Afrina, okay. Who else? Arifa. Okay, so, and then let's see. I think one person is missing. Who's that person? So we got 3 teams. I can add one more here and then we're done.
I think one person who couldn't attend the class today, Harima, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So everybody else here, either you're
Faria also absent maybe.
okay. So we'll add them too, because it's like everybody has so Syed can add one more, and then Pamida can add one more. So it's gonna be 4. And then I'll probably give you guys group after you guys get them up to speed with the initial test, the login test. You guys will get a group assignment. So just keep sticking to your group once you create the WhatsApp group, and this will help for the future projects. And then if there's extra people, I'll probably add you to one of the group. I'll just dump somebody in your group and you'll just coordinate. So again, Famida, Rifat, and Syed, you guys have a huge responsibility, because not only you learn a lot from teaching, but also this is mentoring, which is actually many of the schools out there that does similar to what we do. Usually you're required to mentor at least a few classes before you can go out there and look for a job. But this is your time to help people, but also be able to improve yourself. And again, this is not something that that you will not do at work, but you will do the similar thing at work, because sometimes your coworker can say, hey, Syed, let's jump on a call, and you ask him a question that is totally obvious and he kind of felt like you're lost. He's gonna, let's jump on a call, and you sit down and we're sharing screen, and he's explaining things to you, and make sure that you learn, make sure that you can actually work together in pair, right? So that's the important thing. Imagine like you started working in pair and you are being too secretive because you feel like he's onto you. He feels like, you feel like he's gonna find your weakness and kind of report that or something. You should never feel like that unless he's a manager. Everybody is your friend at work, so try to get as much as help you can. And this is the other thing, if you ask questions and you get fired, that's totally fine. You come back and I'll help you with another job, not a problem. You should be asking questions as much as you can. All right, so 3 group is fine. I didn't miss anybody so far. And so Famida, you should probably create a group and add these people. I'm gonna post this in.
I have a question. So Rezwan, you say you were not in WhatsApp.
Yeah, I'm not in WhatsApp.
So how do I contact? Like, can you give me a number? Like, how do I contact you? Or I think it'd be better if you can open a WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
So we all can be there. And
yeah, if you open a WhatsApp group and just send me a quick message, I'll add you to the group, and then Famida
yeah,
can find it.
I can do from there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. So that's good, guys. Like I said, group projects is gonna come soon. So this is gonna give me a confirmation that you guys are good as a group. And if you need to, for any reason, you need to switch group or something, just let me know privately. We'll make that happen. It's good to work together as a team, especially because this is what we will be doing at work. All right. So just communicate with your group for now. The next class, I want to see that you are totally comfortable with this thing. Okay. So at least the team lead, I'm talking about Syed, Rifat, and Fatima, you guys are fine with this framework, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Fahmida, not me.
Yeah, Fahmida, not Fatima. Fahmida, you're fine too, right, with this framework?
Yes.
Okay. So you guys need to make sure that everybody else in your team is comfortable with this framework. If you have problem that you cannot figure out, then you can reach out to me. So from here on, everybody that are in your team, you go to your lead first, and then you come to me when the lead cannot help you with that problem. Okay, so that's a good, that's going to be a good group. If the people that are not in the class today joins, then I will add them to any other group that has less people. And then I may just create another group depending on if we can get a lead. Okay, so now let's go into creating a new test today. I'm gonna show you guys one of the, I got an email this week about test and I saw that it was completely done wrong. So when you didn't follow anything, just make sure that start from scratch is probably the best bet, because I feel like if you made too many mistakes, then it's better to start from scratch and follow the steps this time. So this is the, okay, let's see, personal code for, I'm just trying to find something new. Auto body shop, let's see, it's probably still the same form, trying to get a different one. Business, professional liability, non-profit, cyber liability, let's see. Okay, that's fine, that's something new. Start code, okay, same thing. Okay, so we go with the cyber liability. I'm just going with cyber liability, and you guys can go with anything you want. So I'm just gonna create a new one. Oh, sorry, not Java class. So notice this package, I named it the way that I want it. So usually features usually contain the feature files. So this is probably appropriate name. You can change it to whatever name you want, resource or whatever. So I'm going to create my test. Oh, sorry, new file. So new file. Okay. And this has to be a feature file. Okay. So I'm going to say cyber liability, lib.f feature. Okay. And this is empty. So I'm going to say feature. And I'm going to write something like an objective or something, right? It could be anything. Remember in Cucumber, you have scenario and you have tests. You can have more than one scenario, meaning each scenario is a test, by the way, right? And the feature is like an introduction. Think about the feature is like, this is what you write, especially, I'm not talking about anything else, but the feature file for our test automation. Here you write like introduction, like what this scenario should be in summary. So you can say, as a cyber liability, let's say, put the, oh, commenting out in feature file is this, you have to put a hashtag. So LIABILITY liability customer. Okay, I would like to get a quote via agent center when I call them or something, right? So now actually this is a internal application, is done by an agent. So the customer will call. So I'm just writing an introduction, like what's happening, nothing else. The first test is that a agent will enter information, go to the next step. We did this over and over again, but when I get here, I want to verify that I'm on the right place. So this is where we're going to use. So verify agent can create a cyber liability insurance. Insurance policy. See, right? Given I am where? I'm on the something, right? Cyber liability page or something, initial homepage, right? When I enter all required information, then I should move on to the next page, right? I should move to step 2 and blah, blah, blah. Just like that, we're going to fill out the whole thing until we get the policy. So it's going to be a long test. We have an hour to do this, so it's fine. Okay, so right off the bat, we can see that we use given, when, and then. The keyword are fine because the keywords are understood by your Cucumber and the framework itself. Okay, these keywords are being understood, so you don't have to provide anything for those, but these are not understood. As you can see, it's highlighted. So I will first create a step definition. Now, if I want to create a step definition, what I need to see what I can reuse already and what's there for me to use. So now I know that my step definition folder has these steps, my step def, but I would like to create another step definition. So this should be inside of step def so that way I can have more than just a single, you know. So let's see, I'm going to create step def, and then you see it's telling me this, but I'm going to create, I'm going to say, I'm going to say CB, cyber liabilities, so CL, actually CL, CL step def. So you can name it whatever you want. So it's going to be like that. We're going to put it into a folder later. It's fine. So given I'm on the cyber liability page. Okay. Now, here is the problem here, right? The problem here is that we already have a driver. Okay, so if I go into this, oh, where did my class go? Did I delete anything? Okay. My step def, oh, it's right here, sorry. We already have a driver here, okay? That's the problem, right? Why don't we put the driver separately so we can reuse among any step definition folder? That's probably better, right? So that's the first thing we need to do, because this is a framework that will come together with different features. We don't want to recreate this again, right? We want to be able to reuse the driver, because every time I write a test, I will not create a new driver, right? That's not what I want to do. So first thing first, I'll go into my feature, I'll click and create a Java class. I'm going to say driver, right? And leave it as Java class. And 1 second, my stuff in right here. Okay. Okay. Okay, so then, all right, let's see. I'll move this over. Okay, so we'll probably move the driver to appropriate place, but for now we're gonna keep it here because I'm just looking at the structure to see where the driver should be belonging to. We'll keep it here for now, okay, and then we'll move it back to somewhere else. So where it belongs. So D is capital driver, and then click OK. And then we're gonna create our driver here, okay, inside of this, so we can use, right? So I'm gonna say something like, so driver is there. I'm gonna have to create a method pu public so I can have access to this all over. So Chrome driver, this is the driver type, and then driver is this. So driver with lowercase in here, okay? So, or we can say browser if you guys like, okay? So I'm gonna say browser, maybe that's better. Whatever you want to name it, it's really up to you. And then let's see, why is it upset already? Okay, we got to do the return. Yeah, all right. So yeah, one thing I hate about Java is that it is already upset and I didn't even finish writing. So system.out. So we can just probably copy this from over there, from yesterday, from the other class, sorry, because we already have this in here.
The set properties, right?
Yeah, right here. So we already have this thing. So we're gonna remove from here because we're putting it separately. So this is one. set property, and then what did I do wrong? Let me see. Okay, I think it's that we erased it for some reason. Okay, and then we got to go back to this guy and get ourselves Chrome driver. Right, Chrome driver. Okay, so we said blah blah blah. Okay,
The name, I think is
Yeah.
driver and browser.
yeah, 1 second. Yeah, we have to specify Chrome driver is actually Chrome driver. Okay, and then lastly we have to do a return. So return, we can say whatever we want to say. So a return, and I can say browser. Okay, so return in this point. So these are driver returning drivers actually. So return driver, because that's what we want to return after it's done. Okay, so it is done a little bit differently. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I just fixed my code to look nice. Driver should be, I'll say lowercase, maybe it's better. Oh no, this is the class name. Okay, browser is lowercase. Okay, that's good. Okay, good. So if I call browser, it will return this driver with the Chrome driver data types. Okay, so now first we got to fix our existing test because we did this, right? And then second, we have to call the driver. So now first thing first, if we go into this and we just got to say extend extends, and then we have to do the same name, like I said, driver, right? Oh, okay, that's good. And then we can say drive. Oh, did I say drive or driver? Okay, driver. Okay, that's good. Driver is equal to browser equal to new driver. Okay, and now browser is equal to web driver, right? So we can probably now, I don't have to rewrite all this if I just put if I just make this as a driver, actually, it's probably better. We don't need this here. Okay. And we don't need this here. Method in driver. Okay, so D is capital. Okay. In driver, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay, we definitely upset it some things. Okay. I think I gotta go back in here to make sure that we got the things correctly.
Because you put browser and driver over there.
We gotta, no, we gotta call the browser because that's the method, right? So
Yeah.
let me go back to this. So driver is this, and then I'm gonna say driver dot. So I gotta say something like this. 1 second, sorry. Okay, I'm gonna say D for now, but I don't want to. I'm naming everything same, so I'm kind of getting confused too. Okay, so the driver here is lowercase, so that's fine. Driver is equal to D dot, and I gotta say Chrome driver, I believe. Okay, D dot something, D dot browser. Okay, so now everywhere I call driver is going to be able to get this browser. The same thing, I got to do it for my other. All right, so this is okay, so this got to be inside. Okay, so I'll put it right here, right before that. And then I got to say extends driver. So we have the, okay, it was already calling this. We don't need this. Oh, we do, okay. All right, so now that we have that, as long as you call driver, it should work. because it's already done. So I can say driver.get with some URL. And let me just put something in there. Cyber liability, this is the one. Okay, so command B. All right, so everything is good. Let me just run this real quick to make sure that it works, and then we move forward. So far, you guys understood, right? What has been done. We're just reusing some things that we can, and then we'll probably do the same thing. So it went there. So
okay, so you using extends for more reusing, right?
Extend is part of inheritance. And anytime you want to call something from another class, you can inherit that class. And extend is one way to inherit that. So now if I create more method here and under driver, I can do Firefox, and I can just basically say, okay, Firefox, return Firefox driver. So you can run it on Firefox too if you want to, directly from here. All right, so that is that. Let me go back to cyber thing. Okay, so it's when I enter all required information. I'm going to undo this real quick, and then notice again it's highlighted. So I'm going to right click, create step definition. I got two class CL step def right here. I'm going to now say the same thing, driver dot something, right? Find element. So that's the first thing. And then I can say by dot in this case, we got to go back here, first name, inspect. And I think you guys already know these things, right? First name is F name with the name, and ID is also F name. So I prefer using ID and then F name, and then B needs to be imported. So click that, dot send keys. Okay, first name, you can auto generate the first name if you want to using Java. Now you may say, okay, how do I do this? So this is the thing, Java random, create a random A to Z, whatever in Java, right? Why do we do that? Because imagine like your company, some same name person creates multiple account, then it'll all flag it. So you can't really automate that, right? So like, for example, this one right here, random, using random string util. The reason why I'm saying Google it is because not everything that you will learn about Java, not everything that we can learn with the time frame that we have. But what we have is we have Google too. You will learn as you'll basically make some progress, right? So anyway, so as you can see, this is a method that you can actually use to create random string generator to create a name that will be unique at all times. But for now, we can just say John. Okay, the next one is last name. Its ID is this. See, it always comes down to this, right? And I'm gonna like the next thing I'm gonna do is that see how we reuse the driver. We can probably reuse this much because we repeat this so many times. We will be able to reuse this code on all of our tests. So I'm gonna reuse this and put it where we can reuse from. For now, I'll probably put it in driver, and then later we'll move it out to, usually utility should be here. This is for test only. So we'll have to move things when we daily make progress. We'll move things, make it more organized. So last name is say Brown or something like that. Okay. Email address. You guys still remember this? It's been a while, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Now, some of us are probably beginning to forgetting, but remember, automation is like the core of the whole course, meaning everything else that you learn from Shanto and Socrates is because these are part of the, like Agile's process, right? And backend is another kind of testing that Shanta is going to teach you. And their things are important to kind of become more efficient with automation. But automation is like the meat portion of your burger right there. So no matter what you do, yes, do 100% on their side, follow those, but try to always keep your eyes on automation and not forget it. People that gets the job and work 5 years later, they still come back. Oh, I want to now learn automation. I'm like, okay, it's a good realization. You should have done that the first 6 months, but so John Brown at gmail.com or something, test mail, whatever. If you guys ever need a burner email, there is the burner email also. You can
Generator?
No, it's a real email.
One of these. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's a real email. Actually, you'll get emails here if you post something.
So you can confirm an account that you just made or something.
Yeah. If you guys need a credit card for doing credit card validation, like payment getaway, there is credit card information that you can use, which is like a test credit card, right? So test credit cards has, I think this provided by one of those company, but anyway, well, it's not fake. We don't use fake information. We get the actual right here, test numbers for credit card. So literally, if you want to check a credit fail and what happens if somebody uses a credit card that fails transaction, you use this one. If somebody, so you got a whole bunch here that I'm actually using the whole chart here for one of the company right now. And they were like shocked, like, oh, how did you get the credit card number? I'm like, oh, I can give it to you. I didn't say get it from here. I just gave it to them. Because the thing is that if they, whenever the developers implement payment methods credit and things like that, they use a specific payment getaway, right? And that payment getaway will provide us with some testing credit cards that we can use as long as it's not production, meaning when developers are configuring the tool to accept credit card, they will say which environment that is. If it's QA, then we can use all of this in the QA environment. So chances are you can use all of them here if you join a company. But sometimes if it doesn't work, that means you have to see which payment gateway they are using. You can ask and say, hey, which gateway you're using? Gateway, actually, I'm saying gateway. Gateway, and then you can find their test credit card numbers that you need to do the testing. Same thing for bank account. Bank account usually, like, as long as your routing number is correct, everything else will be fine. All right, so we got the email. The next thing is phone number. And then once I'm done with this, I'm going to reuse some of my code so that way you guys can see the reusable portion. And again, all we're going to talk about now is like these basic things we are over with, right? So we're going to probably just optimize and make it better tests, right? That's what we want to do. Whenever you use a phone number into your test account and your, let's say, queue environment is alive and sends text and things like that, I would recommend using a number that is dead, meaning it's, imagine like use random number for phone numbers. It'll match up with somebody in the United States, right? Imagine like you said, I want to be realistic. So 646 and then some random number, 123 9870, and it will match with somebody, and they will keep getting text messages to the point where they will probably call the company and say, hey, what's going on? I'm getting so many text message shows that I have $1 million and now I don't, and things like that. So it's better, safer to choose a number that you know for a fact is not for somebody's number. Okay, and then lastly, 5-digit zip code. Any question when I'm going through this? Anybody here have a like blue revision, meaning like you feel like you've seen this, but you also feel like this is something that you need to later spend time to learn?
Yeah, I missed this particular class, but I know a little bit, but I'll go over it again because this is.
Okay, that's fine. Now you have a team lead to help you also for pair programming. So it's not gonna be like on demand. Can you show me now? No, you guys schedule and agree to a time. And that's how you guys gonna do that. Okay, so this is one that, okay, let me just go ahead and run this real quick. I'm gonna and just see that if it works. And it's not working, so I don't know what's happening. 1 second. Passed for what? Oh, it probably ran too quickly. 1 second. I gotta close this windows and then try one more time. Okay, they didn't type anything. Okay, so let's go back and debug this real quick. Driver.find element by app name, and then I'll put a sleep here. Okay, how many people know about this thread? Dot sleep, and the reason why you put it in here is because you may want to wait for a few minutes. So this is going to wait 5 seconds, right? Is because like what's happening is that it may be because the timing related. What if Selenium already visited the page, but nothing loaded, and that's the time when it's trying to enter. And that's maybe one of the reason. And then we will sleep is for the moment, just for debugging purpose. And then we will then fix it without the sleep. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah, this is pretty strange. Usually it works the right away, but let's see. What's the deal? F name is there. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna put a 15 seconds delay, and then we will think about it after
Is it
that.
because you commented out the when I enter all required info?
Oh, thank you. You see, that was a test. Nobody passed except for Varia. Sorry, except for.
That was a great catch.
Yeah. Thank you. No, that wasn't a test. That was me. Overthinking. Okay, so. But anyway, so whenever you put a sleep, you have to put this throws in exception, because what happens if things doesn't go the way it is. So this is just the exception handling, and we'll also do exception handling later in the course. So all right, so it did fill out all of that, but now think about reusability. Okay, and I'm going to tell you one thing, is that there is no set way to say this is the way we're going to code and this is the way we're not going to code. Reusability means is that if you're repeating something, and chances are you're going to repeat that all the time, you may want to create that and as a method, right? And then you can probably call it here if you need to. So let's say the whole thing is reusable. Like I can copy this and I can go into, I'll probably go into my driver class or something, and I'll put everything here, and then we'll go from there. We'll probably move it to wherever we want later. But now here I can say, like you see the driver, okay, I gotta do a public. I have to put the driver outside for me to use it actually. Okay. Okay, that's fine. I'll probably do that. 1 second. Public. And I gotta give it a name, like let's say fill, info fill or something like that. And then I will do this. So in this case, driver is going to be the one. So Chrome driver is going to be driver, because we're going to do that later. Okay. Info field, it just didn't like the, and we got to do return void, public void actually, because it has no return. It will just do the thing for me, right? It will not give me, like, for example, this, in this case, it gives me a driver.
Quick question. So
Mhm.
for the parameter, you put the Chrome driver, which is the name of the other method above. So whenever you use driver, it will be able to use it underneath it, right?
Yes, so I'll explain that in a second. So what's happening is that it's a code to record from, okay, so you fill out the driver, we're not using it from here. We're not even using it from here. We're gonna later pass the driver what driver is. Here we're saying, okay, we don't know what driver is for now. Don't worry about it. But when you get driver, for this method to work, it needs a driver, period. Okay. And then it can work. So now let's say code request form. I'm gonna go back to the test, right? And where we wrote this. So here we had that, and I'm gonna go ahead and let me see, it's extending driver to begin with. So that's good. We no longer need it here. We're gonna just say something like a D, right? So you can say D dot code form, but it takes something, right? It takes a driver. So driver is already outside. So you can say driver, boom. And that's it. That's a simple is that. Okay, so can it do the same thing? Let's just run it and find out. Sometime I'm surprised too. 1 second. Everything looks good, should work, but you never know. Okay, good. So now you may say, okay, is this the way everybody's going to do it? No, it's just I'm giving you what's out there, what you can do. And then when you see the code, for example, you open up you join a company, you open up the feature file and you're happy. Wow, this is familiar to me. That's great. You do Command B and now you go into I enter all required info. But then you're losing your mind, like what? Where is the info? Where is the driver.get and this and that, you know? So where is the driver.get and other things? You may just like, oh wow, this is not what Jules told me. And then you're calling me and you're saying, okay, no, yeah, everything was wrong and this and that. Before you do that, you go into the method, right? You do Command B and now it's inside. It's the thing is that this information can we reuse? Maybe we can, right? Maybe we can from somewhere, right? Maybe we will be able to reuse it by if we have other products, right? Because it's just simply entering the information into the first page and that's it, right? So we can keep it like this if we want. Or we can simply take this and say we'll reuse this, right? And we can probably do it right here. Something like public web element. So, and then this one probably will have a return and then find element, right? So find element, I'm going to say something like find, that's it. Because I don't want to replace the name because we can't, right? So find, and then here I'm going to have to say the ID. So find by ID, for example, underscore find by ID, for example, right? And this is going to be string ID. That's the ID we need to provide. And once that is done, and okay, so did I miss? Okay, it's gonna probably tell me the enter return. Okay, return. Okay, not right now. I'm gonna return the web element. So I'm gonna say something like this. I know this is gonna be used, and the ID is gonna be right here. ID and then that. And I'm just gonna say, I can probably say return right now. Let's see. Add a return statement, return null, no. Web element. Okay, web element is equal to like something. Element, whatever. As this, and then driver still needs a driver, by the way. So web driver, and now it's not upset, and then we're gonna say return element. So now if I do return element at this, in this case, is going to return the web element, not just any element, it's going to return the web element. So now let's go ahead and reuse this find by ID, because that's the only thing we're using, right? So let's do that. Control C, the first line we got to replace. Web driver becomes just a driver, because that's the one it is, driver. And then we remove that because the parameter. And then the string ID is f name. Okay, so the whole string is going to be like this. That's it. And notice how it knows exactly what this is. And then we're going to say dot send keys. We just need this remaining. Okay, and that's it. This, the first line is no longer needed. See, notice how simplified that looks. We just have a method somewhere that takes care of a few things. It might not look much, but hold on a second. Let me just replace the rest and then see if it works correctly. And we have that extra one here. We don't need. All right, making any sense or no? Because the idea is that later I'm going to take this and put it somewhere else. All right, because this is for visual, we're putting it in the same place. So nobody's confused. Notice now I can say find by ID. I have a method for find by ID. It requires driver and requires the ID itself, and it can work. You see? So now if I go ahead and see if the test's running, and obviously there is a lot more things we can do into making our tests. It's not to make our life difficult by purpose, to say, wait, we're gonna, so it worked. We're not trying to make our life. How many people think here, and I will not say anything, because this is something that I used to think in the beginning too. So that's totally fine, that, okay, we are making our life hard for no reason. How many people think like that right now after doing all this? So instead of keeping it here, we're just keeping it other places, because I gotta tell you the benefit of this, right?
In the short term, it seems like it's like a lot harder, but long term, since you're going to keep reusing it, it's just making everything more efficient and easier long term.
Exactly. And remember, less code means less maintenance. Agree or disagree?
Yep.
I have
So
a
now,
question.
Go ahead.
So you see how you have 5 lines here for the elements, like 5 or 6, whatever.
Yeah.
So we can replace this one by using that thing, and which says here in public void quote request form. I mean, I'm a little bit confused here. So either we can use this all 5 lines, or you can replace this with one of them.
Yep. So it's like you're saying that this 5 line, you gave it a name. All right. So this is the name. And you're saying it takes a parameter, which is the driver, because without driver, it's not going to work. This driver is here, but then something has to call the driver, right? It cannot just work by itself, right? So now if you go to your step definition, it looks much more cleaner. Not there, actually go in here. Okay. Your step definition, you're going to see something like this. At work, this is the real situation, right? Real case. Okay, when I named it B, right? It could be something like setup, or it could be like something like page. And now we just like, I gotta replace this. So now page dot this. It probably makes more sense because this is how they name it. Sometimes they name setup, sometimes they name page or something like that. So page dot get code request form. We just named this, right? So whatever you want to name, you can.
So the the code request form includes those all elements. Am I right?
Yes, because this is your function. How many people know what function is? Like, obviously method is method, but you know, any non-tech people at least know some functions, like function means, right? So function, meaning of a function, right? Or formula or whatever, right? Function is basically, okay, this is not math, actually. Function in programming. Okay, programming, for example, okay. Function in programming. A function is simply a chunk or code that can use over and over rather than writing it up multiple times. This is probably the best way to say it, kind of brighten up my day. But this is the easier way to say, right? So instead of you saying, I will continue to say find element and this and that. Like, for example, you see how find element, driver dot find element, the chances of you using this line throughout the whole project is going to be greater by, like, I don't know, anywhere you want to find element, you'll use that. So now you have a web element that you're saying that find element and means like find by ID, right? Find by ID, it'll work. And then you can probably potentially put other things here too. If you want like logging, you can put logging, right? Found the element or not, right? You can just put something logging in here.
So
Meaning
here I have a question. So if I use like expat or name or CSS selector instead of ID, then what gonna we do?
Okay, that's fine. That is fine, right? So you can say find by expat, right? Okay. Simply change this by expat, and then simply you're saying I want expat back, string expat, and we are in business to find something by expat. Okay, so these methods right here, what intended to do here is that at least because you're writing find.
No, here I have another question, because sometimes in inspection it works expat, sometimes works ID. So if I write something, one more line, two more line expat and rest of the line ID, then what can I do?
Yeah,
Then
same
I
thing.
need to,
Nobody's limiting you to say, okay, only use ID, only use expat.
no,
right?
no. If I mix the code, like sometimes use expat, sometimes use ID, then I need to make another method for expat.
So expat, you got a method, right? And then, so the idea is that when you join a company and you'll see similar methods, one for expat and one for like ID. And I cannot definitely say this is how it's going to be. What they will probably name it differently. They will probably, it may look differently.
Okay,
but,
okay. Now I got it.
But they will have one for each kind of locator. So that could be ID, name, and everything. Yeah, but again, like naming and how it looks is something that we have no control over, right? Because anybody can put it anywhere. So later in the code, I will take these things and I'm gonna, because this should only have driver related stuff, not the, so I'm gonna move this over to another class and put it into main Java, right? Because that's where all the methods and helper should be. Even the driver class, I'm gonna move it here later in the later in our framework. And at some point, this framework will be ready to use by a actual company, which is we're almost on the way. We're almost on the way. We're already reusing, we're doing inheritance, and we're pretty close. All right, so far so good, you guys. It's 2:25, right? And we got 3 team leads today to drive these teams into understanding this framework. So the next class, I'm gonna ask the team leads to brief me on like if you, and it's your responsibility. If somebody is not getting it and they didn't get up to speed, who should I blame? Team lead or the person who didn't get, right? So I should probably say, okay, team lead, you didn't do a good job, right? So think about this way, right? All 3 teams right now that you guys have, you guys will get a group assignment and you guys will do it with the group, but I will involve GitHub also for that group assignment. That means I want to see commits from all 3. Team lead is the only one who's going to allow the code to be merged to the master in order to simulate what's going to happen in a real work situation. So, so just keep that in mind. It's coming. And I just, the next portion is, look, no homework for the next class. But I want you guys to get up to speed. If you want to help your team lead, try to get this yourself, but they will probably text you. They will probably get in touch with you. And if you're hard to find, then it's not going to be their fault. Okay. So just make sure that you coordinate. This is, just treat this as a work, right? And we'll be fine. And the other thing is, before you know it, like, we're moving through things, we're learning new things every day. And once you get a job, we're going to sit down and see what you're missing. So even if you kind of like feel like, oh, I forgot this, I didn't do that, I didn't do this, or you know what, I just jumped through this, I learned a little, very little. You got a job, and then you raise that concern. We'll sit down. Before you start, the first 2 weeks, it's our responsibility to make sure that you're up to speed and be able to work. I will personally look into the job description and give you at least my breakdown on what you need to learn before you join, so you don't lose your mind, you don't end up, you know, you don't end up quitting, or you don't end up losing your sleep over the job. But most importantly, I need for you guys to take this seriously and try to, you know, again, this is going to be a simulation of actual team, so try to listen to the person who's trying to help you. And anybody, like, okay, team leads, if you guys have any, you know, problems or questions that you guys get stuck, just message me. I'll set up a separate call, and we can get this through if it's like a blocker, if it's like a real issue. But otherwise, next class, what I want to hear is that you guys, I'll probably pop into the next class. It could be Shantabai, or it could be Socrates teaching, but I'll probably like pop in to ask if everything is well, everybody understood, and go from there. And then I'll create a very nice requirement for you guys to step by step follow, and then do your not final, but do your group work. Let me show you guys something before I go.
So quick question. By next week, basically the team leads, our responsibility is to make sure everyone is understanding of Selenium and has a decent understanding of Cucumber, or are we also going with to see if they can set up the methods and inheritance and everything?
So obviously it's nice to have, and something will be nice to have is like they understand the methods and how to set this up. These are nice to have, but at least if they can get up to Cucumber, like being able to set up and be able to write their tests without a lot of assistance, that's what I would like to see. But if this is going to be like great to have, if they understand how method works and being able to create reusable block of code, that's going to put us like really, really in a good situation. So, okay, let me just go into this. All right, so this is a automation test plan. Obviously, not a lot of company asks for this, but one of my recent, from the last batch, one of my student, they obviously he joined the company and they said, okay, you'll do automation, but not right now, right? Because they don't have automation. And now all of a sudden they said, okay, the manager says, okay, give me a plan, because nobody wants to spend time and money until they want to see everything in documents. So they said, give me a plan, write me a test automation plan, and then from there we'll go and see what you want to do. You give me a description of your framework and things like that, right? So he comes to me and he's like, oh, what am I supposed to do? I'm like, okay, just write a plan, like write what you will do and things like that. So obviously I helped him through this, but now here we got table of contents for background, introduction, other things, coding techniques, optimization. A lot of the things came from research and out there, right? It's not something that we came up with like, you know, ourselves a lot, because it's, again, it has to be research and things like that. Now here, I would say, let me just go through this real quick. So coding structure, as you can see, it's going to be a cucumber. You know, we got a step definition, we get selector, we got another class. That's what we're going to be doing. As you can see, the whole project structure, right? We got the helper page, we got the constraint, we got the components, everything separated out. This is not like messy like ours, right? Our one's just getting there. We have to get there at some point, right? And then pretty much he described how he will do homepage. He will basically create new user, function. So why is he going through all this and doing this? Is because we're starting from the right foot, right? And this is just he hasn't even done anything yet. This is just a documentation. And this probably helped him to just understand that how much efficient can he be with his code. Obviously in the beginning he can start off like this, and then you have to be organized as soon as he has like 10-15 tests already automated. And then he's describing how he will write the test, sales, blah, blah, blah. So he's probably going to go through the whole document with his manager, to make sure the manager has confidence in him, and the manager will probably leave him alone for 6 months or so he can develop this framework and then start to automate for the project, right? And he'll take the lead onto the test automation. So think about it, like a company hired him, and now he's doing this, and he went from our class. So just think about it. It's not like a rocket science. Everything is man-made in this world. If somebody can do it, then you can do it too. It requires a little bit of concentration in terms of your thinking. I believe in everybody is because with time and how well you spend your time, you'll be able to do anything that you set out goal. If you can basically put a goal, you will be able to do that. That's my 2 cents there, right? And also, if you are the person, I'll do it tomorrow, trust me, I know plenty of people that I'll do it tomorrow mentality, and they're still working and they're on automation. Okay. And these are my close friends. There are a few close friends, and I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes, and they're not advancing at work because they'll stick to whatever they're comfortable with, and obviously they're not advancing. So that is that. This is just a document that he created, but I will probably share with you guys once you guys have it. I also have a few interviews recorded, so I'll probably share one day when you guys are ready for that time. I just cannot stress this enough to say that how important this is. This is a crucial moment. We're like midway to our class, and it's always good to be prepared than not prepared. It's always good to learn than not learning, and go out there and look for a job. We're trying to make sure that you get just enough knowledge so that way you don't lose your sleep when you get a job. You may, because the reason what I'm saying is that when you go out there and get a job, there will be few people who never learned anything, and they ended up getting job too, because the way our process is kind of, even if you didn't learn anything, you will end up probably getting a job because you did very well with the interview prep. Because our interview prep is very much different than the course itself. I believe that course is something to keep you in the job, and the interview is to kind of showcase what you know. But our interview, at least the prep is so good that you may end up getting a job even you didn't learn anything. But that's when you're gonna like find out, oh, I have to learn it in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and you're gonna struggle, and we're gonna struggle with you, because in that 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I don't know where to begin because you never paid attention in the beginning. So that's why try to do it now, and just put special focus now, because in about a month or two, we're going to start to picking people up for like interviews. There are a few people here that actually, like tomorrow, I'm supposed to submit their resumes for a few known positions. These are like, let's say, in-house situation, but like I said, when the time comes, we're going to push you regardless of you feel ready or not, how you feel, because we want you to get a job, because that's the ultimate goal you came here for, right? And we're midway already. I think we're very close. So try to bring back the focus that you had on the day one, and work with your team. Moving forward, this is going to be your team, and then after the group project, you can still continue to work with your team to get help on your final project. All right. With that said, any questions?
Yeah, I want to inform Rifat Bhaiya. He's the team leader, our team. Yeah, I'm 3 hours back from New York for just information.
Okay.
Last few days, I saw everyone. I didn't wake up, but when I wake up, I saw lots of people working. Oh my God, they are doing lots of things.
Right.
So for just your information.
Yeah, that's fine, because your team lead is think about this way. It's not like me or Shantabike, where we have other people that we also sometimes talk to, or have our previous batch, we have set up meetings and things like that. But at least the team lead will be free enough to work with your time and their time also. Hopefully they do. But this is your opportunity for all the team leads to kind of shine and solidify whatever you learned so far, and not only help other, but also it'll help you. I think it'll help you more than the others, to be honest.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so again, like I said, if your team lead is, you feel like that they are unresponsive, you can just let me know. I'll probably help you with that. But otherwise, I think team leads so far that I selected, these guys have been very active.
I know he's the very good student here, Rifat Bhaiya, and also our Fatima Appa. I know, but I just inform because maybe he invite me for a discussion. So that time maybe I wasn't sleeping. That's why I inform.
Yeah, no
so
problem.
I'm 3 hours back.
Okay, so he'll keep in mind. Anything else? Any other questions regarding pair programming next class? And I may just do the extra class. So I'm gonna reach out to you guys because like we have so many other materials to cover. So I think I will not do Wednesday is Socrates, and then right after that I'll do my class, maybe an extra class or something. All right. With that said, enjoy your Sunday, and if there's no question, yes, go ahead.
Oh, you could go ahead.
Yeah.
Jul Bhaiya, actually, I want to talk with you 1 minute after class. Can I call you?
Yeah, you can call me privately.
WhatsApp number? WhatsApp number?
WhatsApp number is fine. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I just have a question regarding like the in-house position tomorrow for the people that you are submitting the resume. I know we talked about what type of like interview questions they can ask and how we should prepare for it and everything. But I guess because I'm nervous, I'm just trying to ask like, if how basically it will go like with the interviews, and like what's like the best way to, like, I've been studying, but I just want to know what's like the best way to like answer the questions and stuff.
Which interview you're talking about? The upcoming? I think you were interested into the role, right? The other role.
Yeah, the possible interview.
Yeah, so that one I will give you absolutely everything that you need to know, because so let's put it this way. We know the final questions and answer. They will basically, the questions that they will ask you, we know the one, like pretty much in a very much one by one. They shouldn't ask you any question aside from what we will give you. So I'll give you those questions ahead of time with the answers, so you can just memorize them if you can. But even if you can't memorize it, I will try to help you out during the interview. The thing is that we get these questions, and then these questions goes to the interviewer. The interviewer then asks only those questions because they have to rate you from 1 to 10, right? So that they will ask those questions and they'll rate you. And that's why we know that these are the only question they will be asking you.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, that helps out a lot. Thank you so much. Just because I was a little nervous, so this will just help me take the nerves off.
Yeah, no. Like I said, like if I set up the interview by Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm gonna be in touch first to like kind of explain to you the whole process, like how the interview is gonna go, and